Let's go. How you doing?
Hola, mijo.
What's going on, man?
Another day, dude. Just out here pissing people off, doing what I do.
The best way to do it.
Dude, I did a post this morning, and you might agree or disagree. It doesn't fucking matter. But did a post this morning about Joe Biden. It's like, hey, love him or hate him. Like, I don't like the guy's politics. Anybody that knows me knows that I don't like that shit. I don't like the human being. I don't. But I have to say, like, being there, like having the opportunity, being in the place, having put in the work in your life to step up and just pardon your son, that's some fucking dad moves. Like, I don't like the going back 10 years. Like, there's all this moral shit, but I'm just saying, at least he was there. That's dad moves. At least he had the option and opportunity. How many people raise moral kids and can't do a damn thing to help them? You know?
Or they don't even show up.
Dude,
Regardless, if it was right or wrong, the fact that they showed up.
dude, it's exactly. And we're like, oh, people. And so, dude, it's been a day. I've had so many people blowing me up. Like, I can't believe you would say this. And it's like, look, like, I'm all about raising moral children. I've got two little boys. They're the most beautiful little boys. We literally left Las Vegas, came to Idaho to try and raise moral little boys. Not that there's a whole side of Las Vegas people don't know that's absolutely moral. It's the most incredible place on earth. But you know, we do the camping and hunting and fishing and riding dirt bikes and stuff. And I can just raise two little gentlemen. Like, I'm a big believer in that. And so, difference between me and Joe, I wouldn't have raised a little asshole, or maybe I would have tried harder. Kids are going to have, like, they're going to do their own thing. But that was a dad that was in the place, like, he did the work to be in the place to even have an option. You got to give credit where it's due. So,
Love it. I love it, man. So how you doing, Mr. Carson?
what's that?
How you doing, Mr. Carson? How you doing, boss?
Dude, I'm good. I'm good, boss. How are you?
I'm good, man. I had a good Thanksgiving. Now ready to knock out this Christmas shopping and get the new year rolling, man. It's been a phenomenal 2024. Incredible. Best year I've ever had.
Good, dude. And first of all, like, we've run this podcast. We've got a bunch of episodes. This is literally the first time in almost a year I've recorded an episode. We had shit hit the fan and got busy and just all these things and putting on live events in Scottsdale and all over. And it was just like, holy crap. So this is my first time in almost a year running this podcast. So kind of excited that you're the one opening it back up.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm honored, man. Right. So this is my first time. Period. Terrible. Like,
Isn't it really?
yeah, man. So I'm like, fine, let's go, man. Like, I felt honored. And then out of all people, out of all people.
It's because you're too controversial, dude.
Probably, right? But I think that's why you and I connect, because we don't care about what people think about us, and we're willing to voice our opinions, whether it's right or wrong. I honestly don't care, right? I'm gonna say what I gotta go say, and I think that's why I connected a lot with him. Like, I like this guy; he doesn't care, and he's sarcasm, the satire, love it. Combine all of it,
Like a little Caucasian Johnathan.
right? Exactly, with brown eyes, right? What are you drinking, by the way?
He's very hazel. Right now, little bullet and Coke, actually.
Yeah,
Oh, sweet treat.
right. Yeah. So I actually got some Pendleton. Pendleton.
Pendleton. You know, Pendleton's good stuff. It's good stuff. As long as it's not what is it? I'm having a brain fart right now. The Southern. You know the shit I'm talking about. The super, super sweet. It's like drinking syrup.
The flavored stuff, bro. Just
It's going to come to me. I'm having a brain fart.
Southern Comfort, maybe.
No, everybody south of the Mason, Dixon, and friggin' east of Dallas is drinking this shit. And I'm like, how? Huh.
If it's sweet, if it's flavored, if it's sweet, I don't touch it.
Yeah. I want that trout, dude. I want it.
Feels good, man. Feels good. I actually bought this knockoff brand. The first time I tasted whiskey, it was just garbage. Like, I tasted some bad whiskey and it's drinkable, right? But I went to this outlet grocery store, and I'm one of those people where I'll buy what I'm definitely gonna drink, and I'll buy a bottle where it's just mysterious. You look cool, let's drink that. So I did that, and for the first time, I felt like I just wasted $20. I wasted it, but I can't even drink it. It gives me such a bad headache. I try to drink it straight, mix it, put something in it. It's terrible. This is the first time, like, you let me down.
Dude, I've got a few things like that. And in my old age, I'm getting old. I feel the older I get, the more I feel a difference in what I drink. Southern Comfort, by the way, that's the one I was thinking of. That sweet whiskey.
Yeah, nasty.
Southern Comfort, gross stuff. I drank that in an airport once and threw up. It was awful. It was awful. But no, dude, the older I get, the more I notice, like, I'm very sensitive. Like, I can drink, for example, Coors Light on tap all damn day. I can drink IPAs out of the can. I can drink freaking Hefeweizens out of the can, or it doesn't matter. But Coors Light out of the can, I'm gonna be hungover tomorrow. I could have one. I'm gonna be hungover tomorrow. I might throw up, like, for some reason out of the can. And it's not just Coors either. It's like Coors, Bud, like, the big three. And the only one that does is the old Natty Lights, dude. The old Natty Lights still hit.
Likes the river beer, man. Good times when I was 18. It was a
Dude,
good time.
Natty Lights still hit. I might have made a little money between then and now, when I was 18 and now, or 21. I promise I was 21. But, dude, you're drinking out of that big cup. Are you sure you're not sipping on lean?
No, bro. So I don't have to keep going up and down to keep refilling. I just put a good substantial amount to keep it for at least
I
30
get it. We went trick or treating, and we went with some friends, took the kids out, and we did this big event in Scottsdale last year. We had hundreds of insurance agents there, and some big people in the cash value space. So, but no, we gave away these big freaking, like, what do they call them? Stanley Cups, right? And we had them all branded and whatever. So I had one of those clear full. I've got some steel whiskey stones, had a couple of those in the bottom to keep it cold. And then, I don't know, probably 16, 20 ounces of liquor in there. And then, a couple Cokes. And it was
good.
Trick or treating, man. Dude, in Vegas, we actually lived in Boulder City. Trick or treating was the best there. You'd go any door you hit, it was like you could get some candy, or they've got a cooler over here. And there wasn't anybody babysitting it. They're just like, hey, be legal, but we trust you if you say you're legal. So some little 5-year-old is like, I'm legal.
That's crazy. Trick or treat. Right? Trick or treat for me too.
Right? Got to take care of mommy and daddy. But nah, man, what else is good? What have you been working on? I haven't been on TikTok in a while doing much. I've just been busy, but
It's funny that you haven't been on TikTok. I've actually taken a little bit of a break from my lives as frequent. I was going twice a day for hours, right?
dude, I think I saw a few weeks ago you were going like back to back for like 48 hours.
Bro, it was crazy. So the reason why I did that is to teach my agency that, like, if you have no activity going on, right, that's not an excuse for you to not do anything. Like, it ain't gonna come to you, right? So I did purposely to show these people, my agency, that you need to learn how to generate traffic. You have to learn. So I go, you were gonna go work at a job for 8-10 hours. So you might as well just be on TikTok live or do something. So I did that, and I ended up picking up, I think, just between that weekend, probably 150 new prospects just through that. And it was more of, you see, right? So if you're at ground zero, you gotta put as much effort. I mean, you have nothing else to do. You got jobs, and they think that they're full time in a commission only business, that they have all the freedom. I go, no, you go from working 9 to 5 to working 25 hours a day, 8 days a week type deal, because you don't know how to manage your time. That's why people struggle in a commission only setting, in my opinion.
No, it's the truth, dude. That's one of the things I tell people with like, hey, if you can't make the time to do like successful people things, but then number two, actually follow through and do them, like, what the hell is the problem? What are you so busy with? Not having success? That sounds fucking stupid.
Yeah. So it's just developing habits. And so I did that purposely to show them, look, and I don't need this, like I get paid regardless, because I just the overrides and all that. But I was just showing you guys, like, hey, look, if you're at ground zero, man, you got to rev it up. You got to put all the effort and the energy into really creating leads and just driving activity, man. You're talking to the most people and nothing's really happening. And it's kind of like when you're trying to push a car, spending all the efforts in the beginning until you create the momentum. And a lot of people don't know how to generate momentum. Like, it's so hard to get momentum and it's so easy to lose it. And when you have it, man, you got to really, really appreciate the momentum, because it takes a lot of effort. So yeah, I kind of taking my foot off that and just really been focusing on the marketing side of the business and all that. So really doing a lot of content creation, whether it be through TikTok, just across social media platforms. because when it's 2025, I just want to have hundreds, thousands of leads coming in. And that's really what I focus on this year was mastering, harnessing the leads.
Damn, dude. You've done some incredible things. I don't think anybody that's willing to look past the fact that you're like buy term and invest the difference, which, you and I have gone back and forth, and I think we're actually more on the same page than not, frankly. But as soon as you get past that, I think it's pretty damn hard to look at what you've done, dude, in the last 6, 8 months.
Yeah.
Like 9 months ago, it was like, who the fuck is Johnathan? And now you can't get on TikTok and wonder like, hey, let me go look at some life insurance content or something and not see you on every other freaking video. Like it's been exponential. It's been like it's impressive, dude. It's really, really impressive. So
And you know what, man? That happened by accident, dude. Like TikTok. It was just whatever. Because unknown. And it's funny that that's the stuff that really takes off is the stuff that you're not even intentional about. Even on being intentional, like subconscious, like it wasn't whatever. I wasn't hoping on that. And then 2 days later, I wait like, hold on, what the hell is going on? And then that's when I just started, okay, let's focus on this and take it to, like, let's just write this thing out. And that's what my whole 2024 has been. And through that, I learned so much more about cash value life insurance, and I've learned to appreciate it in a different aspect because it's different from how I learned it 10, 12 years ago. It really has evolved, right? Cash value life insurance. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful for all the people that have given me critical feedback, if that makes sense, or constructive criticism on both sides, because it made me get back into learning mode. I remember the very first time where I was getting people that knew how this stuff were properly structured. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? All right. Mech. Like these were this was 8, 9 months ago where I had to really learn fast. And I just started hanging out with like Chris Kirkpatrick, right? And physically hanging out, but like just that was pretty much my mentor. And then it was funny because then I started learning most of the whole life guys don't like the IUL guys. And then most of the IUL guys don't like the whole life guys. I mean, both of them don't like the buy term invest difference guys. So it's like, oh, I didn't even realize that was going on because I had been so disconnected from the industry because I had kind of built a agency. I hadn't been in the field since like 2018, Carson. So I would just do my little meetings. All right, go get them. And then see you later. Like I had it written a sale. And then, I went to some life events and then I get on TikTok. I'm like, whoa. So it was like relearning everything. Like for the first night, I was a brand new agent. Like that's how I felt.
dude, there's a lot. It's funny because like it's funny how many folks are very anti one product or another, and then they get in their rut, like the blinders are on, right? I've said this 1,000 times. The truth is usually somewhere in the middle. You got this opinion and this opinion. The truth is usually here, but they get in their rut and it's like, hey, I left this part of the industry 10 years ago, 20 years ago, because I thought it was crap. And here you are 20 years later preaching the same stuff with the same expectations that it's the same thing. But it's like, man, product, process, regulation, legislate, it's evolved. So it may carry the same product name, but it's not even the same. You wouldn't recognize it.
The annuity side has changed drastically from when I first got started. I mean, they don't even annuitize anymore. Like it's crazy, like just how different it was and how important it is to, even if you're not necessarily soliciting these products, to be aware of like all the changes, because that's one of the things I've learned, especially from older insurance agents on the annuity or just even the cash value side, was you're talking about stuff that you're absolutely true 15 years ago. That is no relevant today because it's changed. Right. And so it was a good wake-up call for me, and I'm really thankful for all the people that have given me pushback because it just made me get better as a representative, as a licensed agent.
So I've noticed though, like with all the pushback, and you've certainly like I've seen some of your older content, and then over the last several months, we've gotten to know each other more and more. And a lot of your content has developed and conversation has developed, but your passion for where you're at, your standpoint, it hasn't diminished at all. If anything, it's like that fire burns brighter, right?
Strengthened, sure, absolutely, it's strengthened. But so kind of going back to the blinders, I was that guy prior to this. Whole life sucked. IUL sucked. You couldn't tell me nothing about that because that's all I knew.
Right.
as I started, you know what's funny is that you'll start to change. At least this is the way I feel. Oh, people will start to change their perception of things when they're getting coached by people they respect. And I started getting coached by CFPs and CPAs, and when they were telling me where cash value could make, and it wasn't just one CFP, it was all of them, all of them. And I go, well, if this is a recommendation, I need to learn why. And that's where I started being more open to whole life and cash value life insurance and long term care. You know, these products actually make sense for these scenarios where
Mm.
before I was, no, they always suck. Like it's never a recommendation and boom, you know, don't look left, don't look right. Where, you know, buy, term, invest, the difference is going to be for most people. But then there's that little group of people, no, this would make sense right here. And that's where I've learned to incorporate cash. I still don't sell it, but I can have a conversation with someone like you or someone that does advocate for cash value life insurance. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's take it to her. And I'm thankful that happened to me, man, because they're just the only people that benefit from a conversation is the people that buy this stuff now. The consumer, they benefit from a holistic point of view.
Yeah. Dude, what's great. So I came in on the other side. I actually came in almost 11 years ago now. And I had a captive agency, Home Auto Life, with a company that's very similar to like a State Farm or a Farmers. And we did well there. We did very well. And they sent us all over the world and gave us all sorts of $20 trophies. And I had hairy knuckle geriatrics, you know, grabbing my ass, walking across a stage once a year at their award ceremony. And we did well there. It was actually a really good experience, but they were very cash value heavy. However, like by pure coincidence, they were one of the only captive companies that also had an independent arm through ING. And they also had at the
I
time
Who was that now? Because there's no more
American National.
American. Okay,
Yeah. They had at the time and for a long time one of the most competitive term products on the market, but very few people were selling it. It was just cash value, cash value, cash value. So I came in, I was taught cash value, cash value, cash value. And I'll tell you, 11 years in the business now, the majority of the claims, death claims anyways, that have paid out on my client's behalf were term policies, right? Most of my clients with cash value policies, most of them still have their cash value policies. They're happy with them. They've sat down with all sorts of different advisors and they still have them. They're stoked about it. I got very lucky very early on to get some, like you were saying, good mentors that helped me find good perspective. But especially in those early days, there was a lot of those people. It was like, hey, we put 200 a month in this thing, and they're like, hey, I'm ready to do another 200. I'm like, no, we skipped a few steps. Let's go back. Like, let's keep rolling on this so you don't lose any money. I'm
right.
grateful you're ready to put 200 a month away towards some other stuff. Let's get that shit knocked out. And so we do like savings accounts and a high yield savings. So I started pitching high yield savings in 2015. I got my own high yield savings account with American Express in 2015. Nobody was pitching. You didn't have CFPs pitching high yield savings. I think I got drunk one night and I was sitting there nothing but my New Balances and was like, there's got to be a better way to having, 100% liquidity with fixed interest. And that was the answer. They had just kind of come out. And so it just kind of hit, like, I'm very fortunate that it hit that early on. And so I didn't have a lot of makeup work to do to go fix mistakes that I had made. And but that's not the norm, frankly, for my side of the industry.
Right. Yeah. You know, it's kind of it's either you get you don't even know if you're getting lucky. Like it's just all you know. And I've been lucky enough that I didn't have to worry if I was selling the wrong product. Right now, the only thing on my end with the broker deal that I was with and the company I was previously with was it the most competitive term. Right. And because you said something, I look at all these agents that work with all these IMOs and whether they're captive or not captive, they got some access to some of the best term products, and you don't even utilize them. It's mind boggling. I'm like, dude, these guys have really, and they pay you on an advance over there. Like, I can't even get that option, and you guys have access to this stuff, and you totally disregard the product. Where I think and I've said this a lot, and I've been more vocal about it recently. I would say over the last 30, 60, 90 days is there's issues on both sides. You got a bunch of term agents and not that they stop there. That's an issue, right? That's a huge issue. And then you got Cash Valley guys that are just all, you know, this is it. This is the end all be all. And I like to tell these term agents, like, they're better off in a whole life policy. At least they'll get something out of it. Working with you, bad idea, because you only did 50% of the business. And at that, you probably only did a 20-year term or something like that, right? Where you didn't even do the longest term. So I just think the industry needs to do better.
Dude, overall, and that's actually, and I don't want to talk about me, I want to talk about you, but that's this mastermind I launched 4 years ago. We've got like 5,000 agents in it at this point. And the whole thing was launched on, okay, like, I'm not perfect at anything, but maybe I'm the one with the balls to put my own money on the line, because the culture in this industry needs to be elevated. The IMOs aren't going to do it. The FMOs aren't going to do it. The broker dealers aren't going to do it. And the carriers aren't going to do it. Number one, they're not run by people that even have the know-how. They're run by people that went and got a master's degree in business admin and then sucked butthole for 40 years to climb the corporate ladder. And now they run a company. Like, that's how it is. And I don't mean to speak ill of all of them, because I know some really good folks at the corporate level, but that's by and large how it is. And then more than anything, they're worried about not getting sued as opposed to actually doing business. And most agents know that, so they don't even listen to their carriers or their BD anyways. They just move on because it's a business prevention unit instead of helping them actually earn a living, right? And so it's like, well, shit, how do we impact the culture of the insurance industry and the finance industry as a whole? And the only thing I could come up with was education. Like, you don't know what you don't know until you know it. Collaboration outside of, you got to take off the blinders. Like, these people that are just, our products are the best. No, the hell they're not. They very well might be the best for like this sliver, but beyond that, they're not the best. We've got rating bands, we've got this, we've got that. Anyways, so we got to take off the blinders. So we have to have education outside of that. We have to have collaboration outside of our organization. And then we have to have accountability outside of our organization. And that accountability, it doesn't look like, somebody calling you every single day, like, hey, did you do your quotes today? Or more than anything, it's like, did you screw somebody over, or did you take care of their best interest? Right. And the only way you can impact that, right, is culture. And the only way culture is impacted is that. So it's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know, but neither one of them came first before they both came to be. And that's kind of why we launched this thing, was like, hey, let's launch it and see what we can build. And it's been cool to see that. But yeah, to your point, like, you're absolutely right. The industry has to do better, but the only way that the industry does better is if the industry does better, right?
And it's funny because you mentioned, like, our products are better. I used to see that a lot with the broker dealer side from the securities point. I'm like, you're just telling me what I want to hear to go sell your product. Why don't you tell me all the negative things first? Why don't we start there? Tell me how this wouldn't work out, and then let me make. I already know it's great, right? The insurance is a transfer. Like, tell me all the negatives. Let's start there, and tell me why this wouldn't pay out, why this wouldn't work, and then I can go and make a better decision on what product I want to use. So I think once we take out, especially when there's a financial vested interest, I think that also hurts too. When, like, I remember clearly, we had an annuity guy come in selling for variable annuities, all the good things, and he started with the comp. I'm like, damn. Like, I look back at it, I'm like, you started with the comp. Like, where'd you start there? Who cares about the comp? Right? Like, it shouldn't even be about the comp. Take the comp away. Let's start about the client first. And if this is even suitable for people. And so then I look back at the insurance now that I'm more, I have all these access to all these carriers, and it just reminds me of the broker dealer side. I'm like, you're just telling me, I'm like, dude, why don't you tell me all the things that are not good about the policy first, start there, and then I can decide, because it's term insurance and I can't really do a whole lot wrong there. You know what I mean? And I can only imagine what it's like with the IUL side. You know what I mean? All these carriers fighting for business, where I could already imagine they're able to illustrate at 7. They're only able to illustrate at 6.25. I could only imagine, man, if I went down that route, how much I can really oversell those products. I chose to go down that route.
Oh yeah, dude. It's an absolute shit show, but they're absolutely viable, incredible products. And it's not just it's not just I think that because I've been sold it. Like 11 years in the business, I've got clients that again, I've got 100% persistency rate currently. That doesn't mean every policy I've ever sold. Persistency is tracked for 3 years, right? But by and large, since the first year and a half, 18 months of being in business, my persistency rate has stayed above 98, 99% because it was the right tool for the job. Earlier on, again, like I was saying, right tool for the job, but maybe a little too soon. We should have done some other things. And now more mature in business, and I can say, hey, let's knock those other things out first. And like you say, not worry about the commission, not worry about this. It's pretty damn hard. That's one of the problems with the industries. It's not hard to be ethical when your paycheck is on the line. However, it is. Like if you've got a choice between Joe Blow buying this policy that's good, but it's not best, but it's good, and you don't sell them the policy and your family doesn't get groceries this week, you gotta sell the fucking policy.
You're gonna figure it out. You're gonna see it.
Well, and that's most of the industry. And so that's, again, something we push real hard that I love about what you've done is that whether you're in insurance or finance, or I'm just going to go ahead and extrapolate this to any sales job. If you're in any job where it requires sales, and for the securities license people that are like, I'm not in sales, I'm a financial advisor, shut the fuck up. Unless you get paid for your advice and your advice only, instead of getting paid for the mutual funds you sold, and now you're getting a % of the mutual funds you sold, right? You're in sales. And even if you're selling advice, you've got to still sell your advice. So anyone in sales, your number one job is not to be an expert at your product. Your number one job is to, especially early in business, align with people who are experts. Quit being too damn greedy to bring them in, because you can't study your way to proficiency in this business. You have to produce your way. You study your way to confidence. You produce your way to proficiency, right? And then so you build a good network of really quality people, and then you become a fucking expert marketer. Like that is your number one job. Once you do that, this business gets easy. And being good to people, like it is easier to be ethical when I know that, like, hey, if I lose this policy, it's fine. I've got 100 more in the pipeline.
Right, bro. That I wish people would. If there's anything you get from this little conversation, just repeat that. Just put that on replay right there. When you only have one deal, you're gonna do whatever it takes to close that sucker, but it's ethical or not. In most time, and you're gonna try to sell more to get the biggest commission out of that, because you don't know when the next one's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's like you're unemployed. And that's the biggest challenge with commissional is that you're unemployed every day. You write the say, if you want to get paid, you got to go do it again. And when you don't have a consistent lead flow, right? It's like, I don't care what you get. Sign up for $20, $200. Just yes, no, I got to go. Because I got 100 other people. That's when you're able to be more level-headed because you don't care. Like I've even told people, kid you not, Carson, you know how I feel about IUL. I think you should keep the IUL, man. I think you're good. Because they've already been having it they're almost at that couple years where they're about to hit surrender. Like it doesn't make sense for you to surrender it right now. Like as much as you hear me talk bad about, like I'm also not telling these people just to cancel them either. I take a look at the whole thing, and it's a fat write-up for me right now. It's a fat write-up. And I'm like, man, I think you should keep it. Call me back in 2 years, see if you still feel the same way, and we'll go from there. Because I have hundreds of other people ready to sign up. And because I think I've done that, I've earned way more business that way.
Oh, easily. Dude, that's kind of what got me on TikTok in the first place, is I had a bunch of people that was like, there's this fucking cuck named Johnathan on here piping off. So yeah, I've seen some of your videos and stuff, and it's, you'll get on the phone with the company and the client and they're like, look at what he's doing. I'm like, okay, but look at his volume, look at his views, look at his engagement, I promise you, like he posted one video in the last week of him doing that. And I promise you, he probably ran 20 or 30 appointments with people that called in that were like, I've got an IUL. Can you look at it? And I'm like, so the shit ones get replaced. Guess what? I replace shit IULs. I replace shit whole life. I replace shitty term too.
Yeah.
I replace shit savings accounts. If you got I don't sell savings account, but if you got a shitty savings account, I'm sure as shit going to send you a link to Nerd Wallet where you can look at high yield savings.
So I don't even sell mutual funds anymore. I'm securities. I'm still fully securities licensed. I'm not affiliated with a broker dealer right now. And I don't ever plan on renewing my securities license for that reason. It's like I'm willing to get. Oh man, dude, you talk about having to be really moral here, right?
Mm.
And I'm proud of myself, right? And yeah, the whiskey is kicking in a little bit right now. Okay,
Good. That's what we want. Good.
I meet with the client, bro. This is over the summer. All right, we do some term. She has $150,000 in her Fidelity account, just not even being traded. And I'm like, dude, this is like a $4,000 commission right now. If I put it into some mutual funds, or do I do the right thing? It's already in there. Just hit trade. Just get her finger, hit trade, and it's free. That was a decision I had to make. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna teach her. I'm gonna grab her finger and hit trade.
Get her into a bunch of QQQ.
Right, right. So because I did that, I mean, I think like a month ago, she was because of that. Her account made about $18,000 since that time frame to now. And she goes, I need you to get a life insurance policy for my daughter or to this. I'm like, so it turned into like $5,000 of commission just through the life insurance product. I'm like, oh God, because I could have totally done that. Could have totally done something that she could have done for free, right, and made a commission on it. And so you talk about doing the mutual funds and you know giving up a commission and doing the right thing. It comes back to you some way somehow. What you throw out is what you receive, and I'm a big believer in that. Ever since that, really.
That's reciprocity, dude. It's so funny everybody gets in a sale. Again, it could be insurance, it could be used cars. It doesn't matter because we're all listening to the same fucking people, right? The same trainers and, and at the end of the day, it's like, okay, abundance. You got to have an abundant mindset, but it's so crazy how many people claim abundance and then live scarce. Scarcity doesn't say, let me trade that money and earn a commission. Scarcity is like, let me just do the right thing. And I believe whether it's through this person or somebody else down the road, and I may not even recognize it, it's going to be returned to me. That's abundance. Anything other than abundance is less than abundant, which is not abundant. So it's scarce, right?
I started really. It all comes out of thinking. Like I always thought everybody wants to do business with me. Everybody. Like, and this is why I'm really open to teaching people because a lot of people don't want to teach because they think if I teach you, you become my competition. No, right? I teach you that there's more people being educated and it doesn't matter because the people that want to work with me want to work with me. The people that want to work with Carson, work with Carson. There's enough for everybody to eat 10 times. Oh, and I trip out on that. Like, why don't you want to teach somebody? Just teach them. Like, if you feel like you're going to create competition, you're in the wrong business, man, of serving because this is you got to serve people here. And when you want to keep all the answers and all that, and no, you got to work with me in order to teach you, bro, like, why would you want to hold back valuable information? Because what you put out, I'm a big believer is what you're going to receive.
Dude, I agree 100%, man. 100%. And I'm glad we're talking like this. It's hard because when we jump on TikTok live together, you got all the people the birds chirping in the comments, and it's hard not to just go off on them.
Yeah. And we got to keep up what with the background, the theme of the talk is, right? So, but yeah, that is more just the character.
It's marketing.
Yeah, it's more. That's all it is. This is marketing. But when it comes down to it, man, it's being level headed and giving correct, sound financial advice. So, like, I'll even take it back to this cash value incident. This guy, 70 years old. This was like 2 days old, and he comes from lead with Lafayette. And I looked at it. I'm like, okay, wait, I know what a good whole life policy looks like. I know what a bad one looks like. And I'm like, okay, this is set up correctly. And I go, okay. I go, no, this is good. Keep it. You don't need term insurance. Like, I think where it is my video kind of created enough doubt for him to reach out. So I was like, no, I don't need to sound anything, man. Yeah, you're good. Keep it. But you're solid, especially because there was a health condition.
Do you know what let me put you on some game right now. What would earn you so much more respect? Not more respect. Not that that's what you're looking for, but all the birds chirping, which honestly, in a lot of ways is good because it turns a lot of shit in, but gets other people because, you and I are having this conversation. If other people like you've done a bunch of those, hey, I'm on the phone talking with this person on this policy that we're going to replace. What about the ones you didn't replace? The ones you were like, hey, actually, that made some sense. Most of them aren't that way. but I'm glad yours is. Let's celebrate that. And do you want to go get a steak? And like, that's a whole different side. I think a lot of folks don't get to see. And I feel fortunate to have seen that in you, and we're becoming friends. We might get taquitos at some point. I don't know.
Love it, love it. Or more whiskey, right? This is why I'm on the hunt for this like policy, this IUL policy that people are claiming. So I can I want to be proven wrong eventually, right? It just nobody's been able to come forth with it. And okay, it did exactly what it says, and I want to say this is what it's supposed to, because it's gonna take the conversation to another level.
Yeah.
And I've been waiting for that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I think the barrier up against is, like, from my own experience. When I was doing nothing but production, I didn't have time to be on TikTok or Facebook or anywhere else anyways. So it was just like, whatever, say your noise. Like, I'm making so much damn money doing what I'm doing. I'm not getting complaint calls. It's just not even worth the bother. Like, why would I go do all that work to come and have an argument with you? It's just not worth it. That's one side of it. Then another side, like with where I'm at now, the majority of my policies are with high net worth individuals, and a lot of them are very high net worth. A lot of the policies we're writing are 20, 30, 50 million. And they're big policies, and we've done some bigger policies too. But when you're doing those cases, it always, always, always comes with an NDA. Always. So like Privacy Act is not enough, HIPAA complaints isn't enough. Always comes with an NDA. And so it's like, okay, I couldn't share like my best cases I could share. I can't show you. I've got NDAs. And those NDAs are strong NDAs from people worth a lot more than I am. And whether their name and stuff is redacted, that's fine. I'm not willing to chance them. People are like, oh, those folks aren't on TikTok. Bullshit. They go poop and sit there and watch TikTok like everybody else. I'm not willing to risk that for that. So that's kind of the barrier you're up against is the people, and not all of them, but the majority of the people that have the examples they could show you either are wrapped up in NDAs on those cases, because when you're doing a big cash value case, it's not a life insurance case. It's typically an estate preservation case.
So I guess let me rephrase that. How it's being sold and who it's being sold to. Like, and I totally understand now, right? You talk to the Johnathan today versus the Johnathan 9 months ago. I wouldn't have agreed with cash value at all. And now I'm like, no, that makes sense. I don't care what kind of permanent life insurance for that particular individual, high net worth, not buy them all. I don't care, right? Like, because it made sense, right? But when we look at social media from all these, you posted a company a day or 2 days ago, especially from that, like, dude, I come across, they
I've been getting so much heat on that.
I make it all a pushback on that, right? But it's like they claim to be different. It's all about education, right? We're gonna put the people first. And I get a policy literally the day before you posted that. I'm like, who sold this to you again? I just want to make sure. Like, I gotta see the name. I gotta make sure I'm looking at this correct. And sure enough, it's the same company. And I'm like, dude, there's 2 zeros in the first year. And you talk about being different. I mean, it doesn't matter what you guys talk about, right? You guys can preach to the choir, right? Or say one thing in a public setting, but when you're kneecap to kneecap, man, that's where we're going to find out where your morals are at. And
when you're tip to tip.
When you're tip to tip, baby, right?
It goes back to culture, though, because like I won't say I've never met a bad company. I've met a few bad companies that were outright, and I'll just throw them out there. They've been sued out of existence at this point. They don't even exist. Cool Springs Financial. They were a premium finance group out of Franklin, Tennessee. My God, they were screwing people, and they don't even exist anymore. So I have met bad companies. I went to one of their conferences with a buddy, and he got all hyped on it. And I was like, bro, they're selling premium finance with crappy companies doing crappy things, and then they sell a rescue program behind it where if they drop, what they would do is they would make the collateral call on a bad premium finance plan where somebody was illiquid. So they cut a check for $100,000 one time, and now they own 75% of a $50 million death benefit for the rest of forever.
That's wild.
And the agents getting paid on both sides, and the agents didn't know. They were just kind of coached along. Anyways, I digress. There's bad companies, but most companies, including the one I mentioned, they're actually not bad companies. And I think I said that in my post, not a bad company. This is not like a wide sweeping thing. However, the overarching culture is that you got a bunch of people out there doing shitty things. And it's because those people, like that company can be as good as they want, but they lack the ability to educate, give their agents quality collaboration, and hold their agents accountable. If they could do those three things, it wouldn't exist. The fact that it exists tells me they're not doing those three things to the level they think they are.
Right. Straight up. And I think it's because of where they came from previous. You know, with me, the where they were at. I'm like, you're gonna bring habits with you, man. It's very difficult to shake a bad habit. And then when you still have those bad habits, and then the deeper you get with the recruiting, the less involved your hand gets in it, is where the problems really start to really happen. Because I recruit you, you recruit them, they recruit them. Next thing you know, they're selling cash value. I've never even talked about cash value. Like, who taught you that? Right? Who taught you that? I never came out of my mouth, but it just starts getting watered down the deeper you go. The next thing you know, it's like wildfire in these countries.
Dude, I I should post. I'm not going to put this person on blast because he's actually trying to get better, and he's paying me to coach him, and he's working his ass off. And meanwhile, he's gone quiet on like the public front of things. But literally, I was talking to him a few months ago. Similar conversation, like, you're telling all your agents to do this. Where did you learn that? And dude, it was like the most Ron Burgundy thing I'd ever heard out of a real human. He was like, I read it in a book. I was like,
Wow. Leatherback book.
I smelled of rich mahogany. Oh man, I was dying. So
Yeah, it's unfortunate, man. But again, that just happens when it's recruit focused, right? And I had to leave that because there was no product knowledge. And when I started really being aware, and it started with me, self reflection, 100% self reflection. I'm like, damn, I thought I knew. I had no idea. And I'm one of those personalities where I don't like to be wrong, right? And when I am wrong, I will say I am wrong. And I hate saying that I'm wrong, if that makes sense. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that I'm saying correct information. I guess it's an ego thing or whatever you want to call it. So when I really started getting informed, I'm like, holy cow, like I need to stop training people because I need to get trained again. And once I did that, game changer. Game
dude,
changer.
I think in this industry, like there's they figured out a lot of folks, some folks figured out you can make a lot of money really, really fast, not knowing anything and just recruiting people. And by the way, when you're recruited, you need to buy a policy and you need your 5 closest people to you to buy a policy. Right. And they figured that out. And it's almost impossible to stop that train because everybody's making money except the people buying the policies. But the people buying the policies don't have the money to purchase recourse because lawsuits cost money. Like you have to purchase your recourse. That's a luxury you pay for in many, many instances, right? But like I'm a big fan of this idea that number one, if you don't know how to sell it, you have no idea on how to teach someone to do it. So you either better have a bunch of money and you're willing to pay to have people come in and do the training, which is very few people, or you better go like learn the ropes yourself. But then once you learn the ropes, so now once you're in this position like you're in now, Johnathan, it's like, okay, you've learned the ropes, you've got a good foothold. Now I feel like, okay, you do have, because you have so many people get really good at this, but they get so tired of the bullshit so quick, they never hire a single person. They make a few $100,000 a year doing what they do, and they're phenomenal at it. Cash value, term, mutual, it doesn't matter. They're just great. But they help the people they help, and the impact stops there. And we wonder why there's poverty, and we wonder why, our communities have soup kitchens and all these freaking things. And absolutely, people have their own choice. But I do believe you do have a moral obligation, at least in our business. Once you get good at this, you have a moral obligation to get other people in this business and help them be good at this. And you don't need to do that 100 at a time. We do it one at a time. But impact comes from infrastructure. So
1,000%, bro. And even when I was with my previous company, but it's with all of it, so with every company, with every IMO, every FMO, it's like they put recruit first and said, why don't we put product knowledge first so you understand what you're recruiting people to? Right, why don't we do that? And if we did that, it'll be, yeah, production will probably be cut in half, but at least we're better serving people. You know what I mean? That's one of the things I've learned. That was probably my biggest takeaway this year when I left and started going on my own, because I was by myself all year. I didn't recruit one person this year. No, I didn't recruit until maybe 3 weeks ago. Is where now my agency has 100 licenses now. And I go, what took me, it would have taken me maybe 2 years to get 100 licensed agents. It took me 60 days to do that. And I go, it was just a shift. I had to become more valuable. Had to go become more knowledgeable in what I was selling, because people are like, I didn't realize, man, how much people are looking for leadership, right? More than now. And when I say leadership, yes, it's work on my thinking, but it's also people don't want to recruit, man. And I've learned that people will recruit, even the ones that say they don't recruit, they will naturally recruit more people if they just understand what they're selling.
Yeah.
Because that will attract more people by default. And once I understood that, like, it was an eye opener for me. And like, now I have this other, like, this second phase of, or let's get after this. It is really shaking me up, and I'm fired up, man. I'm excited for 2025. Right? Like I got into a point where I've always been frugal, right? But not when it comes to my business. I'll freaking go bankrupt to grow a business. Like, I'll dump air, because I know how to make money. When I have a license, I can go make 10, 20 grand, 30 grand if I needed to. Like, I'll go bang on doors. I'll figure it out, right? So I'm okay with just take everything on my bank account. Let's dump it into this. Dump it if it's gonna 10x it. Like, that's when it comes to business. I'm willing to put it all on the line. So that's where I'm at now. Is like, let's go. We're gonna go hard on this marketing. Let's go make it happen. And I want 500, 1,000 leads coming in a month at this point.
Dude, that's friggin' awesome, man. So, you've had enough whiskey to get into the real stuff? All right. All right. Okay, so Johnathan, you are gay.
Right, you too? So why are you gay?
Yeah, that's what I'm referencing. The dude from like Zimbabwe or wherever.
Why are you gay?
Who's the mainstream news channel? He's like, why are you gay?
Oh, that cracks me up every single time I watch that.
No, dude. Every time. I don't care if you're gay or not gay. It's still funny. It's still funny. Like, if we can't appreciate good humor, then what are we doing?
The funny part is I don't think it was trying to be humorous. That's what made it feel like.
No, different part of the world, though. If we here in the U.S. can't appreciate something funny.
That was hysterical, man. That shit makes me laugh every time I hear it.
Nah, buddy. So, dude, I do want to get into some shit, though. And give you the opportunity to like clear the air, because I feel like there's just been a lot of ambiguity. A lot of your haters, a lot of people coming out of the woodworks with shit. And I've seen your comments like, oh no, please, I'm depending on people not seeing this so that I can actually feed my family. You know what I'm talking about.
Like, it's funny that people won't even, they have to make profiles to post stuff like that, instead of just, you could just tell me in my face, man. Like, what's so scary? Like, I don't take anything personal, but I don't know if you figured that. I don't take nothing personal.
No, dude, but you use the F word prolifically, and it scares folks.
Yeah, I do. I need to get more politically correct. I need to learn how to communicate a little bit better, right? But yeah, when people make comments like that, I just laugh it off. I'm like, I'm still winning. It don't matter. Like, people look past that because they don't even care what I do. Is like, can you help me or not? That's one of the things I've learned this year is they can try to smear me and use my, the personal hacks. I still replaced almost 300 policies this year.
What was it that Pink said on that? It was like a 2008 or 2009 album with Eminem. You can na, but I won't back down.
Oh yeah. I can't remember what she said, but I know what song you're talking about. Yeah, so it doesn't matter to me, man. People are gonna have the same way I'm able to freely express myself. They can do it, man. Cool. Knock yourself. Like, if you feel you need to say that, like,
yeah, you're obviously threatened at that point, but like, I feel the same way. I live everything transparent. I'm not perfect. I've done a lot of dumb shit. I've got bad Google reviews. I've got shit on my freaking criminal record. Like, I'm fortunate none of it ever became a felony. I spent almost 5 years actually working off a plea of abeyance to keep some felonies off my record. Spent most of that time living in Canada, which was very helpful. Because and I'm sure anybody who's been in that position, on a plea of abeyance, you spit on the sidewalk, get a ticket, it all comes down. So I think anyone with a history would understand, like, People do shit. But that's what I want to hit first. Talk to me a little bit about your history. Let's just get the air clear. This is your chance. We have no time constraints. Put it all out there. And then, dude, I push my shit hard. It's just going to get pushed out in front of as many people as I can.
And you know, I was more vocal about it when it was first happening. Now, like I'm like, hey, whatever. Like I don't care to talk about it, but we'll talk about it. So
But yeah, it keeps getting drug up.
yeah. I used to be a DJ prior to insurance. I used to be a DJ. And so it's New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, man, and things are getting wild, and it's prime time. It's 11:45, 12 o'clock, and everything's out. Everything's out right there. And I don't even use drugs. That's the crazy part. That's the crazy part. I don't use drugs. It's just me. I'm a little bit of a hothead. I don't know if you figured that out. Right. I've never been in trouble with the law previous to this, right? So then we're at a backyard party. I'm DJing. Things get out of hand. Cops show up. All the drugs happen to be in front of me. Okay, well, not mine. So then I just started snapping off, right? I am drunk, though. I'm very intoxicated. So then when I sober up, I'm in jail, and they say, hey, we're giving you up for a possession charge. And New Year's Eve happened to be on a Thursday. And then my next court was until Tuesday. So I had to spend a couple of days in jail just to get to a court date. So and that was the worst 5 days of my life, man. Worst 5 days. So when I remember the public attorney or the public defender, I think that's whatever, the guy that represents you for free. So he goes, all right, man. So if you plead guilty right now, they'll let you out of jail today. But if you don't plead guilty and you want to fight, you're going to stay in here for 30 days. Guilty, get me out. I'll say whatever you need to say. Just get me out of jail today. I cannot stay here another day. Hell no, the food sucks. I'm not, and I can't shower with a bunch of dudes anymore. Like, it's too much for me. 5 days was enough. So then I pled guilty to a felony, and I just had to do the community service that they told me to do, and then it's no longer a felony. Like, I don't even have anything on my background at all. So it's clean and clear. It's just you read the report. I pled guilty to it. I'm not an actual felon,
right?
Or else I would have never been able to get a securities license.
I was going to say you didn't do any jail time or anything after that. Just your initial little.
That was the initial thing, right? That's so when they say, "Oh, you're a felon," I'm like, "Well, I pled guilty to one because I want to get out of jail." But I'm not necessarily. But I just go with the narrative. I'm like, well,
dude, I'm not. It doesn't concern. I have a gal that worked for me. She had a felony, and she didn't. It was just some stupid shit. Like she was managing an Olive Garden, like 20 years ago, and went to drop off the checks. That was back when you could write a check for dinner. I don't know if you remember those days. But she went to drop off the checks at the bank, but it had just closed. And she's like, well, screw this. I'm not driving an hour back across town. And so she just went to bed, went back in. But they had some new franchisee owners, and they were just like, screw this. Like, we're going to make an example out of you. She pled guilty, did like 3 days, and then a bunch of community service, some fines, and whatever. But I hired her back when I was doing multi-line, like home, auto, life, commercial. We were doing a lot of commercial. She is, to this day, the best commercial insurance producer, agent I've ever had. In fact, at this point, she's not even an insurance agent. She decided she didn't want to do the sales side. She wanted to get into rating and underwriting. And she runs the rating and underwriting department for a freaking insurance carrier.
It's amazing.
Right? Yeah, people do dumb shit. And sometimes dumb shit is dumb by default, not because it was actually dumb. But yeah, man.
So that was a situation. So I learned to take that. I'm like, when it first, like when people started throwing that at me on social media, it kind of caught me off guard. But I'm like, okay, how can I use this for me? It's already happening, right? How can I use this for me? So then my thing was, well, imagine if I'm able to do all this with a blemished background, how come you haven't done it? If I'm able to get all these securities licenses and build an agency with everything against me, what's your excuse?
Yeah.
And then when I started talking about that, that's when I started getting a real big following, because you're right. And I started just getting a whole nother side of people, followers, that maybe have a blemished background or come from an upbringing where they're probably, that's what's supposed to happen to them, but they don't have anything, but they can relate to that. Because there are a lot of people that have done dumb things, they just have a clean background still. And that was so when I started using that, it started shutting everybody down. I'm like, damn, imagine if I'm able to do this with all this on my background. How come you haven't done it yet? Right? Like you have everything going for you. You have everything against me, especially when it comes down to like the tax lane. I made a lot of money, right? When I first started doing this, and I didn't know how to manage it. I'm over here teaching financial services, right? I don't know how to manage my own money. Put a lot of money to a broke kid's hand. Supposedly, I made 150 grand. I don't know where it went. Yeah, Overton's probably the Ford series that I buy. I don't know where that money's at. Supposedly, I made 150,000 the first, that year. I go, bro, I don't know where it's all got, where it's at. So I have a little, right?
I did the same thing. I had early in the business. I made some money. I have no idea where it went, and I had like a $4,000 tax lien from the state of Utah where we were living at the time. It wasn't federal; it was state, and I got it taken care of. We got it paid off. Like I showed up to work one day to make payroll, and they're like, "Oh, there's no money. Like your bank account's garnished." And I was like, "The hell." Yeah. And like I just didn't even know that was a thing I was supposed to pay attention to. They say ignorance is bliss, but it's not. So, we got it taken care of in short order. It took me a couple months to scrape up a few extra $1,000 and handle that, but we got to have, but it's there. Like I screwed up. I'm not going to, why am I so adamant that like when an agent gets a good commission, you pay your damn taxes now? Because of that.
And so I tell people that was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to me was that, because it taught me a lesson early on. That happening within 3 years of me being in the business. And that was my first highest income earning year. And for me to have a 10,000, it got me more like, okay, I need to pay attention to this. Like, this isn't all my money, right? As quickly as it hit and that's another bad thing about the insurance. I don't know how people structure their commissions, right? But me, I had all of it coming, like all of it. And granted, I got out of debt and all that. Kind of got out of right. I think I spent more money on food than anything, right? Because you go from, for me at least, I go from not having a whole lot to learning how to live my entire life off $2,000 a month and getting paid $2,000 a month every 2 weeks, right? So you're stretching, going to Applebee's 2 for $20s and sharing the drink type deal, or no, we're going to Mastro. It was just a new experience. I have no regrets. It was a fun time, but now that I'm more mature and I understand how this money game works, this isn't all my money. And I learned, it taught me how to get really good at deductions and just pay attention to this stuff.
Dude, what I've found, and it's worked really well for me, my split, I like to take my production on advance as much as I can. A lot of people are like, no, don't. My persistency rate's phenomenal. If I sell a policy, it's staying on the damn book. So I'm not worried about chargebacks. And, but here's the deal. An insurance company, if you don't advance it and they just pay it out to you over time, or on an annuity, you can get trailers and higher commission overall because you get trailers. But we're talking like 1% more paid out over 5 years versus give me 1% less now, and I can go invest that money and I'll make 10% per year over the next 5 years. It's like, it's stupid. So I am not a big fan of trailers and as earned. But what I found is I like to stick to like a 70% advance ratio. Give me 70% of my money now. And then when it comes back to me on the back end, that's the IRS's piece. So I don't prepay my taxes. I wait, like I take my 70% and I run my businesses. But then that 30% that comes in after the fact, I just go ahead and say, hey, that's the IRS's. If I can write more down beyond that, cool. But by and large, like that's their money. It's not my money.
So you get that 30% on earns on 10, 11, 12 months, or is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So when you go 70-30, right, or any ratio, they're just going to go pro rata. And as soon as you hit that benchmark where it's as earned, so say you got advanced your first 9 months, right? By the time you hit the 10th month, when they make that 10th month payment, you're going to get paid for that 10th month as earned. You won't get paid in month 11 and 12, but you've got 3 months of getting paid now. And we've just got some automation built in. We've built a few different CRMs and pieces over the years and sold them. But we just have some automation built in where it's like, okay, we're tracking that. And when that 10th month, 11th month, 12th month hits, it just automatically pulls it and sets it aside. Pull it, set it aside. And now I know come January, I've got the money to make that payment. And that's well, it's been good. It's not perfect still. Sometimes I still go spend that money and now I got to go make it back up. And sometimes I have way too much there. But
Right. Yeah, I see a lot of people, man, that make a lot of money Like, you can't pay your taxes. Like, we just have bad money management, bad spending, bad
Dude,
spending.
that's one thing I tell folks, like, they need to go do some Dave Ramsey. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't care who you are, Dave Ramsey. There's a most of what Dave Ramsey preaches, I think is absolutely stupid. But this dude is the absolute best at two things: living on a budget and living on a budget. Like, your budget is this and you're just going to do it. And then secondly, getting out of debt when you have no extra money. How do you get out of debt? Like, that dude, there is nobody else who's a better authority on those two topics.
Yeah. And those are probably the only two things I do agree with him. Like, when he came out with that 15-year mortgage, I go, bro, you're fucking delusional, man. I don't know.
15-year mortgage, or, hey, your brokerage account is going to return 12% per year, so you can take 8% per year. I agree the 4% per year distribution rule is a little low, even though Susie Orman says it should be like 3%. I agree. Like, by and large, if you're doing a good job, you got a good account, that's probably low. But returning 12 and taking 8 every single year, with all of it being based in variable accounts, that's more aggressive than I think most Americans can afford.
Damn, big on a public setting, on millions of people listening, you're more ballsy than I am to say that shit. I won't ever say that.
I don't, dude. There's a reason I don't get my securities licenses. I can say what the fuck I want to say.
That's because I have a lot of CFP asking me, or just people in general, how come we don't go become a CFP or get a Series 65? I'm like, so I can be compliant? Fuck that. I want to say whatever's on my heart at the moment, and I don't want to have to, especially I want to be able to have a drink like this and not have to worry about this ever like backfiring on me, because I'm not a fiduciary. I mean, I am a fiduciary, but just not. I'm not.
Yeah, there's two ways to define a fiduciary: is your license as a fiduciary, and then secondly, you act as a fiduciary, right?
I practice fiduciary, but I don't want this conversation to limit how I really feel. And it's funny because I hear this a lot now. Now it's funny because once you're aware of something, you start hearing it more often. Oh, my license, your licenses, maybe. Hey, what? Say the truth. How you feel? And people want to hide behind these licenses more times than not. And I go, bro, grow a backbone.
Your licenses require you to be less than truthful,
right? It's mind-boggling.
Because here's the reality: a licensed fiduciary, the verbiage is client best interest. The reality is keep the company from getting sued, keep the BD from getting sued.
Yeah.
That's what fiduciary licensing is. It is an agreement to act in a way where the BD is the least likely to be sued.
Yeah, it's always the BD first.
Dude, it just is what it is. So, like, compliance is not compliant. It's just, how do we least get sued? And you would think, well, the way to not get sued is to always be doing the right thing. No, that's not how the fucking law works. Like, look at what Joe just did for his son. That's not how the law works. Like, it's not so black and white. It's gray all over.
And when we say BD, we're talking about broker dealer, not baby dad.
Right. So, yeah, dude, I don't mind saying stuff. There's a reason I don't get my securities licenses, but also, like, go all the way back to, I don't need to. I don't need my security. A lot of people are like, well, why would you turn that business away? Because I don't need it. I'm doing fine doing what I'm doing. And I'm doing more than fine. 10 years ago, I didn't have the life I'm living now. And I think this is a product of just who I am. I think you're probably similar. I'm driven. Who I am now and what I have now is less than what I want for myself. And so I'm constantly like, God, I got to do better. But 10 years ago, I didn't even know to dream the life I'm living now. I didn't even know to dream it.
It's funny that you say that, because I was having this talk with my agency, right? And I go, everything seems impossible until you get it done. When I tell you guys to start making 10, 15, 20 grand a month, 30 grand a month, for you guys, it seems impossible because you've never done that. I was there 15 years ago. I mean, buddy, you're telling me to make 15. I'm just trying to make 3. I get that. Until I started making 20, where it became achievable and believable, because I well, if I can make 10, I can make 20. And then I started hitting 20. I can make 20. The most I've ever made in 1 month was about 37,000. And then that's kind of like my what's that? The lid for me right there. But I know I can make 100 grand a month. Now it's doing what I need to go do now. At that point's
Yeah.
the effort and all that. But you talked to this Jonathan 15 years ago, I would have thought this has to be illegal, and we're gonna go probably to jail eventually. Like, but I'm down. I'm down. Just how long is it gonna last? You know what I mean? So I would have never thought big like this, like dreaming what you just said. And I'm like, you need to believe it, man. I know it's hard because most people don't make that kind of money legally, at least. And you're just in an industry. It's kind of like actors and professional athletes make big money because of the industry that they're in. We also had to understand how many athletes didn't make it to the NFL, didn't make it to the NBA. There's a big turnover. This is no different. This is no different. This is a financial services is a high paying industry. How many people make it? How many people don't? I didn't care about all the, like, I remember going to a little meeting and one of the speakers said, out of 100 people that join, about 2 or 3 of you are going to make it. And I feel bad for the other 97 because I'm one of those 3. I just knew I was going to make it because I knew I was willing to put the effort in to get better and to make the income. And I'm thankful that, this business isn't get rich quick, but ain't get rich slow. You go.
That's the truth. That's a good way to put it, man.
Ain't get rich quick, but ain't get rich slow, man. It's going to require everything of you. And the minute you get it, and you treat it like a business, it'll pay you like one.
Dude, so you spent a few nights in jail. You got out. You did some community service.
Yeah.
We're doing the weave. We're doing the Donald Trump weave, man.
Right.
What you said those few days were just like some of your darkest days. What was your darkest moment? What was your darkest realization, your darkest thought?
When I was in jail or just in general?
When you were in jail.
My darkest moment was, I hope my mom doesn't find out because she's going to beat the shit out of me. Come to find out, right? She knew I'm like, oh, dude, I'm straight. Even to them, I'm afraid of my mom. You know, I don't ever want to let her down. Like, I think as a son and as her favorite son, or hopefully she hears this, her favorite son, you want to make her proud and you want her to say, you want her to brag about you.
Yeah.
That wasn't something I want her to be able to, like, I don't want somebody to bring this up to her. Do you know your son did this? You know what I mean? And it's more of the shame. That's really what it was, is knowing that I tarnished a family name. That's what really, and then from that, it was, I need to do better. I can't ever let this happen ever again. And I never did. I changed my habits. I got into self-development, personal development, working on my thinking, started reading books, and this is where I'm at now. So
what's maybe the most impactful book you ever read?
It's a great question, man. Thank you for asking, bro. Love that question because I don't think enough people ask that question enough. 177 mental toughness secrets of the world class, man. Steve Seibold. For me, right, was a very impactful. It really helped me change my thinking that most people are going to be amateurs in what they do. Most people are going to be amateurs and they're going to give an amateur effort. They're going to do just enough to stand out, but they'll never take it to the next level. So that would probably, that one, if we kind of mix it with, I'd like to say 3 books that will really shape your thinking if you apply it. So that one, it'll be either Relentless and Winning. They're kind of very similar by Eric.
Good books. Good books.
Very, very similar as far as thinking goes. And then Napoleon Hill, right? Outwitting the Devil.
Bro, there are maybe 5 people in my whole life. So if you join my agency, you go through some training and you do some things. We have an agency culture piece. And it's like, hey, right off the bat, it's not a big clip, but we'll give you a $50 bonus. All you have to do is buy this book. It can be an audiobook, read it, listen to it, then shoot me 2 paragraphs, 5 sentences each minimum, email it to me, $50. Right? And that's how we get, it just helps with some culture shit, outwitting the devil. Like, I'm not a hugely religious person, but my God.
It's just such a powerful book because it's you against them. It's really you against you. That's really what it is. If you can just overcome the limiting beliefs, man, you can do it. I don't care. You're selling Tupperware, you'll be the best Tupperware salesman ever.
What's the biggest realization you got out of outwitting the devil?
Habits. And realizing that you have one. Realizing, like, when he talks about the cigarettes, I don't know if it's really early on in the book. It's an addiction, whether it be tobacco, porn, whatever it may be, right? That they don't serve you and you don't realize that that's the chain that's holding you back. And some people don't ever, it's never becomes a realization, and you live this life of, right? Like, it's never a fulfilling life. And It's wild, bro, that people have these addictions that don't serve them. Bad addiction, bro.
Dude, addiction is a fucking big one. That's a big one you get from that. I recommend everybody go read that book. That is such a good book.
Incredible book. So not enough readers, man.
I think the thing that stuck out to me the most, dude, was how much the devil sounded like himself. Like that whole conversation, it either happened in a mirror or it happened in a in a leather chair in the corner. Only instead of looking out at the room, maybe you had the chair turned around and you were just staring in that dark corner, and it was just you and you, and the devil was you, but the devil had all the freaking answers.
Right. And you have the whole control. He has you suffocated. He has you in this chokehold that you can't realize. You don't know how to decipher it. And that's why I'm big on the realization, and you getting into mentorship, I think really helps with that, man. Because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And I think when you have, and kind of going what I said earlier, is like you're only willing to listen when you found someone you respect. And because like if I don't necessarily respect you don't respect me, everything's gonna be confrontation. It's gonna create friction, especially when I'm trying to coach you. But if there's some sort of mutual respect, you're not gonna take it personal. You're actually, yeah, okay, I'm fucking up. He's right.
Yeah.
Person, well, the point. But there has to be some sort of mutual respect right there. And I think until then, mentorship is big, man. Mentorship, because it helps you break those chains of addiction that can help you get to the next level.
Yeah, but like we were talking about earlier, I think like with the recruitment thing, there's so many people that read a book and they're like, God, that must be cool to be a mentor. I'm gonna go be a mentor. But they have never been a mentee, right? And they haven't ever been a mentee. And it's like you're a student of nothing. You're a student of fucking nothing. You just want everything. And now here you are. It's the blind leading the blind.
What cracks me up with what you just said is like these life coaches. Well, you haven't accomplished shit in your life, man. You're a life coach. Wild. Man, I wouldn't follow you. I wouldn't follow
Bitch, you go on no dates. You're not married. You have 4 kids from 3 baby daddies, and you have herpes. Stop it.
and you're giving relationship advice. That shit is funny to me, man. So, especially like in this business, like when people call themselves mentors, I'm like, so how much do we make? Like, how productive are you? Like, how effective are you? I like to tell people like cash is the measurement of your effectiveness.
Dude, it absolutely is. And I also believe this is actually one of the things that I think, because we hear this a lot. It's a big piece of feedback from organizations. Like, hey, what kind of brings you here? And it's the fact that, like, so for me, 99% of my money comes from, in fact, right now, 100% of my money, and it'll probably continue to be that way, comes from my own production. Right? I don't really grow a huge downline. I've got a few folks, but I don't grow this huge downline. We have this mastermind with hundreds and thousands of people in it. It's a not for profit. 100% of every dime that we bring in goes back in. We pay for more tools, more resources. We put on more events, pay more influential people to come in and share their perspective. 100 freaking percent. And we can prove that on paper. We've been very transparent about it. But that's a thing. So Ed Milet, I know a lot of people don't have a lot of love for Ed Milet, and some people do. Ed Milet's a badass in a lot of ways, but he also helped found a life insurance organization that is the heart of a lot of drama in our world, right? The big W. Oh, Ed Milet, I was listening to one of his things one time, and he said something that hit me. What he said was, I don't remember the exact number. It's been years. It was something to the tune of, if you ever make more than 10% of your money coaching and training people versus making your money doing what you do, there's a 99% chance you aren't worth paying for the coaching or training anyways.
Well, that's good.
And it's like, shit, that's the truth. So I got to keep going. Like, I can't afford to put all my time into, even though I love the coaching, the training, and the mentoring, like you're talking, I love it. I can't afford to do nothing but that. I got to go hit. I got to go hit home runs. I got to do this. Otherwise I'm not relevant. I become one of those people we were talking about an hour ago. That's like, hey, here I am 10 years later talking about the shit that mattered 10 years ago, but it's not even relevant today because I'm not in the trenches. I can't fight that fight.
If not, in order to stay relevant, I think you got to be in the trenches at all times, man, because you got to know what's going on.
Dude,
I had this challenge with one of my previous mentors, right? Because he had no clue what was going on, and I couldn't understand until now. I'm like, it's because he hadn't been in the trenches for like 15 years. He doesn't know nothing. He doesn't know nothing. Like, I can't be mad at him for that. I just gotta go find new mentors. I gotta go find someone new to learn from that's constantly in the grind, and that was a big eye opener for me. Is that I want to now I don't like to use authority. We'll keep mentoring, but if I want to be relevant, I guess you would say, I have to be. I have to have my foot in the game. I got to be in the game still. I have to be. I got to wear the jersey. I get the jersey dirty because the coaching's different. I've noticed when you're putting points on the board and you're in the grind, the coaching's it's more direct, and you don't. At least I don't feel bad. I'm like, dude, I'm in the ground. Fuck you, man. I get the nose. I get the chargebacks. I get this. I get that. I get the conference. I get it all. So what? What are you gonna do about it?
Well, that and I feel like my team does better when I do better. I go make $50,000-$100,000 this month. My team is much more likely to make 5 or 10,000 this month.
That's it. Yeah, your best guy is gonna make half. Your best guy, you cut one corner. You guys cut all corners. That's just the name of the game. Your best guy makes half of what you make, man. So if you want a well-paid team, you go lead from the front. You go be the leader.
Dude, that's how it has to be. That's how it has to be, man. So, next question. You are gay. No. So, you mentioned earlier that you, like with your BD that you'd been with, you were securities licensed and you moved out and you maintain that licensing. I know that's been one of the things that a lot of people like picked and thrown at you. Hey, you got your securities licenses revoked and this and that and the other. And I'm not here to like I say, I've gone down the road. I've done all the study courses. I've taken the test. I just didn't do the licensing because every time I come down to it, it's like, damn, I make too much money doing this and I can't get an OBA for that because BDs don't like private placements. Why? Because they can't get % on GDP. Fuck BDs.
Exactly. It's exactly that. That's the truth right there.
Dude, and I get to say that because I'm not relying on a BD to pay my damn bill. I know a lot of other people are not that way. But yeah, talk about that a little bit. Let's clear the air on that.
Yeah. So I still, as December, what's today? 5th, 2024, I still have an active securities license. I'm just not, it's kind of like having an insurance license, but not being appointed with anybody.
Yeah. So it's literally just hanging there, but it's not.
Just hanging there. Yeah. I have 2 years same thing like with an insurance license. So got 2 years to figure out what I want to do. I do not have any plans on renewing. I'm just going to let that sucker lapse just because of what I've learned from it. I much rather, like if I want to get paid on the securities, I'm going to go get a Series 65. I won't get a Series 65 because then I got to watch the shit that comes out of my mouth. All right. So I don't feel like doing that. I much rather give it to a third party. Congratulations. And I'm going to master the insurance business. And that's where I'm going to get wealthy. I don't want to master both. Okay, hey, I'm great at this. I'm great because there's just too many moving parts here. Right? I'm going to master this. You have all the work with a CFP, whoever wants to deal with that, go work with an RIA. Go. Just funnel that. And if you guys want to get your Series 65, that's on you. Me, I could care less about making money in the security business. But so I still have an active securities license. So what happened was the reason why I had to make a decision, right, with my broker dealer was because it was social media compliance of what I was saying. Right. That is 100%. And you nailed it on the head. We're protecting us from the shit you're saying online. And we're more important than one little person.
Yeah. We're a BD and you're on the phone with this carrier that we might want to do business with in the future, or we're currently doing business with. And
we'll even take it further. They're one of our investors because they're a publicly traded company. And people don't know this, but most of those carriers have equity positions in that broker dealer. You with me? So we don't want no part of this. So either you delete, they wanted me to delete everything and then I go, no, I'm not going to delete. That's how I bring the business in. You're freaking out of your mind. And this is when I had already started getting mentorship from CFPs. I'm like, I started being aware. I'm like, hold on, what you're telling me? I'm not offering the best. You're with me. This is the best product. Because when you're in that little cult, right? When you're like there, you don't think to look elsewhere because you're just fed whatever you're told. Right. And you're to ask any questions, and you're making a big multiple six-figure income. You're getting treated right. So then going through this situation, and I go, wow, you don't care how long I've given you guys. I've given you guys my entire 20s. I'm 34, 35. And if I remember telling the attorney from the broker dealer, I go, if you can't get behind what I'm doing, exposing the cash value life insurance, maybe our values don't work anymore. And I'm going to go somewhere else with it. Okay, I need the resignation letter by 2. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, you guys really don't care about me. I'm just another number. It doesn't matter how far up I am with you. I'm just another number to you guys. It hurt, bro. Like, it hurt, dude. Like, I never felt, I wouldn't say betrayed, but like let down, disappointed. I'm like, I thought you guys would back me up a little bit because of the culture. Are you with me? And it took me like a good 48 hours of process what I was going to do. And then that's when I sent my resignation letter in because I wasn't going to take no, because I said this many times. Those that stand for nothing fall for everything. No, I believe in what I'm doing. And you mentioned it, like the light grew, like my belief got stronger after that. And I don't hold back no more because there's nobody that controls me. Nobody controls you and nobody controls me. So I just don't have my securities license isn't being appointed with anybody, I guess you would say. I still have one. I just don't care to use it at this point. It's unnecessary to use it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. And you're not doing anything. You're doing nothing that FINRA is going to come after you for, or RISA, FEC.
Calls ever since that. 0 calls. I'm like, I love it. Do my own thing. I'm not selling anything. Nobody regulates me. Nobody is holding me accountable.
Well, I like what you said. You're like, I don't want to. I just want to be an expert of what I do, because that's kind of the way. Like, I've gone through the securities licensing courses. We've taken tests, passed them, and it's like, okay, we can do this, or I can do that. I always say we, because that's a good way. If you run an agency, that's a good way to talk. That way your people don't feel like you're full of yourself.
Right.
But I've got all that done. And then I look at it and it's like, okay, well, I've got hundreds of thousands per year coming in off of this and this and this, all these ancillaries that I've sent business over to. And now I have to go get an OBA. And by the way, I can't get an OBA for most of them. And I have to quit doing this thing that was paying my paycheck in the first place, even though it's not wrong. And I have to do this and that and the other. It's been like, nah, I'll just refer that business to somebody who wants to deal with that. And here's the thing I found. So you mentioned CFPs. Here's what I found with CFPs. A lot of people are like, oh, I need to go to a CFP for everything. No, you go to a CFP for planning.
That's it.
You go to a CFP for planning because the CFPs I work with, I sell most of their insurance.
Same here. Dude,
They come back and they're like, hey, look, I recognize this person needs insurance. I'm really, really good at a bunch of things, but I'm not a master at necessarily any one of them other than the planning. So I'm really good at it. And I just want to give them to somebody who's really, really good at it. So for this one thing.
That's funny that you say that, man, because that's another thing I've learned is we look at these CFPs as kind of like the gold standard.
Right.
At what though? At what? Like, I know more insurance when it comes to cash value than the CFPs do. Right? Not all of them. There's some CFPs I know their shit. Like,
yeah, there's some sharp cookies, but they choose to specialize and
the whole plant. And then there's gonna be some CFPs that are more efficient and maybe the tax part of it. And then you can see some other, like everybody has their own little salsa on the tacos type deal, right? But most of them are kind of complete. Now I wouldn't say completely. They just know the myth that like enough about the insurance portion. And I get a lot of referrals from CFPs at this point because they feel, I guess I'm trustworthy enough to handle that part of the business. And I feel thankful for that.
dude, and it's like there's so many nuances. Like for any CFP to believe that they're the best at managing money, they're the best alternative investments, they're the best at, which are a hugely viable part of a portfolio. They're the best at this and insurance is absolutely asinine and stupid. You can be a CFP and really, really good at one or two things, the best at one or two things, but you can't do it all. And so, like you say, the ones we work with, like I remember the first time I earned a CFP, their business, it's because they didn't understand that it was an ABR thing, an accelerated benefit play. And they were like, well, this company has accelerated benefits. And I was like, well, yeah, but you're selling a policy that's $15 million in death benefit, and the accelerated benefits are capped at $500,000.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot
Versus
of
this other company, they're not going to go to 15 million. No company will go to 15 million, but there are some companies that'll go to like full face amount on all accelerated benefits to like 2.5 to 5 million. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah. Or so, for example, like it's a company, I won't say the company on here, but it's a company you're working with now. It's a company I like. They have some cash value stuff. They have some annuities, but they have a phenomenal term product. They have an accelerated underwriting provision or an express underwriting, really good ABRs. They used to be called something else, and they have a banking division. They own a rugby team, and you know who I'm talking about. Okay. So I was talking with a CFP, and he's like, okay, well, I really, really like this company. I was like, well, cool. Did you realize by going through that company / partners group versus direct to that company on the life side, you can get access to what we call this QOL product. And this QOL product is sexy. You can't get the QOL product direct to corporate. You got to go through the partners group. Like that's the only access point. And they were like, what? And it just boom, because American not as good.
a lot of people know that you if like when you become big enough, you get like that product you're talking about. And I thought, oh wow, so not ever like they can go online and it's gonna be a very different product versus going through like you and I.
Yeah.
And I realized that until I started, no way. I'm like, because then I started thinking, I don't want to cut myself out of this. Right there, I go, no, they can only get a certain product for me and you versus going directly on the website and getting that product. And yeah, the only challenge I have, and maybe this is why we're connected, is I haven't found there's favorable comp there.
I like them. They're one of my better, to be honest. And we've got some good stuff. Like, yeah, we can talk offline on that.
Talk about why, man. So, because I want to push that, bro. It's a household name. It's a name for most people. It's a name that people recognize, and it's oddly compared to the other three carriers that I use. That one is right there with price point. One of the other carriers that I'm using just is on this upcoming Wednesday is offering full living benefits on their policies, and they offer a 40-year term. So I'm excited about that. And it happens to be one of the cheap. I don't know what the price is going to look like, so I don't have access to it until Wednesday.
Yeah. When you're looking at these top, so that's another thing on these top carriers, because we could look at their, again, I'm not going to name carrier names because like there comes a point where I'm not looking to burn my licenses because that's what feeds my family. So, but there's this carrier out there. They do nothing but term. They are almost always the cheapest. They have no living benefits. They have the client experience is crap. The agent experience is crap. It's all drop ticket. And if anybody has any, so for anyone who doesn't know what drop ticket is, it means as an agent, you don't handle the application really. The company does. And so you've got somebody making $15 an hour asking your client, like, hey, you have rickets or scurvy or
It sounds like protective.
not that one. It's a B company.
Okay.
Starts with B. So when we're looking at like cheapest company out there, this versus that, like, and we're looking at the other company we're talking about, it's like, hey, dude, we're talking 50 cents a month, sometimes $5 a month. But one is going to pay out only if you die. The other pays out if you get cancer. By the way, 1 in 3 Americans get cancer.
Yeah.
So look to your left, look to your right. Which one of you?
You know what's crazy, bro, is I've learned to appreciate the living benefits more now.
Oh, dude.
I've learned to, because you said something on a live that stuck with me, is that you paid out more living benefit claims than you did death claims. And I'm like, I need to revisit this because I've learned to kind of quiet it down a little bit. But the way I look at it is, let's say a client, or I am quoting you for a policy, right? $50 a month for this term policy, $55 a month for this term policy. That $55 has the living benefits and all of that. You might as well just include. It's better to include it and not need it than not, instead of needing it and not having it. So I look
But at the same damn money.
on that money. I'm like I go that was the real wake up call. I'm like, I'm not offering the best thing, right? And if it's not like you go from 50 to like $80 a month.
Damn, no.
It's pretty much the same shit.
It's like 50 to, and if you're basing against one of these companies out there that's really big on buy term and invest the difference, it's like they're selling it like 55 a month, and now for 50 a month, I can get a better policy with. But even against other companies, you're going from like 50 to 50, or like 50 to 51. For the dollar a month, like Mr. and Mrs. Jones, that's less than $20 a year. That gets me through compliance with state regulation. I will pay the extra dollar. I'll pay the extra damn dollar. Like, you are
no brainer to just makes you sleep better at night. And I hope you never use them. And for whatever reason, if it didn't give you the full benefit, it gave you a little bit, it didn't cost you anything. And it really wasn't like a drastic change.
you're still money ahead, dude. And it's crazy when you break down the numbers. So like 1 in 3 Americans get cancer. I think it's like 2 out of 3 at this point end up in long-term care. So a lot of people are like, oh, well, life insurance is not for the elderly. Bullshit. Cost prohibitive life insurance is not for the elderly. Cost inclusive life insurance, where it's not taking away from their cash flow or their asset accumulation because you did it right and you did it at the right time, and you included those as accelerated benefits that also will pay off some of that long-term care. That's a $500,000 buffer over the course of a standard long-term care stay. That's a $500,000 buffer to their portfolio.
That's one of the things that I need to take to another level, bro, is understanding this, like, how can I position this long-term care like hardcore, like where it's non-negotiable. People need it because people need it already. They need it regardless, right? People are going.
There's some good people. Mark Glickman is probably the and keep in mind, like, one person thinks this, we think that. Truth is here. Mark's like, he's long-term care. But if I was gonna just be like, hey, I want to follow somebody to just become an expert at long-term care, it would be Mark Glickman. That dude is a freaking genie.
You know what's crazy? Because I built a ton of relationships with CFPs and CPAs, and that's my number one question to: how do we handle for long-term care? And you want to know what the response is? They don't have an answer.
Most build a better portfolio.
There it is. And I'm like, is this one of those cases where an IUL or a whole life policy would make?
Well, and that's it. So for example, you ask, where's an IUL a good piece? I could take $100,000 from a client and drop it into it. I could be an IUL, could be actually an annuity. There's some annuities out there, guarantee issue, by the way, regardless of health. I mean, they'll still do annuity suitability, but beyond that, I could take $100,000, turn it into $300,000 guaranteed on long-term care leverage. And if they don't end up using it, they still get back their principal balance plus 10 or 15%.
Is that what Gillico?
No. That particular annuity is a global annuity, and it's a cool annuity. It is a really cool annuity. And there's some other annuities out there that have some really cool levers as well, and some life policies that do. But like on an IUL, I could take 100, and I don't even have to use like an IUL built for cash value. So I can use, are you familiar with PUL?
It's the first time I ever heard I heard GUL.
So PUL is technically an IUL, but they call it a protector universal life policy. It's an IUL with less opportunity for earning, but more guarantees built in. So a typical IUL is going to have what they call a no-lapse guarantee, and the no-lapse guarantee is going to run through the surrender period. So if I have a 10-year surrender period, the premium I'm supposed to pay might be $1,000 a month, but my no-lapse guarantee might be $100 a month. And if I just pay that, I'm guaranteed the death benefit and everything else through the end of the surrender period, then it's gone. PULs usually have a few things. One of those things is going to be not a surrender period. Usually they'll have a 15 to 20-year surrender period. So they're not great for cash accumulation at all. But they are going to have a no-lapse guarantee through age 121.
Oh, so you're guaranteed that place for them
with your accelerated benefits. So if I just pay my no-lapse guarantee, I get all of it to 121. And I just need to know that, hey, if I do that, I'm not gonna make shit for cash value in here. And that's fine.
That's not what you bought it for.
That's right. But what a cool piece. And when we buy it, so here's the cool thing. I could single premium in like $100,000. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's a modified endowment contract. Who fucking cares?
That's
Like
not
all a
what
modified endowment contract is a cat or a life insurance policy that's taxed like an annuity while you're living and like life insurance when you die. That's it. You violated some DEFRA regulation, DEFRA. That's all. Okay. So nothing else. Nobody's coming to your home. They're not going to like dig through your panty drawer or anything like that. And away we go. Well, if it's still taxed like life insurance when I die, then the death benefit is still tax free. And the accelerated benefits are still at par, called par for the course, for lack of a better term. Some accelerated benefits, by the way, are tax free while you're living. Some are not. Some are
which
taxable.
yeah, which ones are taxable?
Most of the time, it's going to be critical illness that's going to be taxable, if I remember right. Terminals typically not taxable, some chronic, and then most of your critical.
Yeah.
So if you're ever going to file one of those claims, it's always best to go talk with like your claims department, your carrier, and your CPA and just figure out, hey, what's the taxable implications? But if I've got cancer and I'm looking at either a medical bankruptcy that forces me to shut down my business that feeds 12 families, or I just pay the $500,000 bill, and I have $1 million policy and this company's willing to give me $750,000 and it's taxable and I still get to keep $500,000.
Makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Like at some point you quit stepping over dollars to pick up pennies and you just do what makes sense.
So kind of going back to what you like way in the conversation, you couldn't get me to understand what you just said. Until I started taking the blinders out. Where not that I would sell this, I would be like, all right, there's this guy named Carson. He can help you out with this particular sliver of your overall situation. But you couldn't have this conversation with me 8 months, a year ago, right? Let alone, and that's where I've been more open to permanent policies. And we're talking people. This is a very special situation.
Yeah, it's not 80%. It's like we're talking very few people. If I meet with 100 people this month, there might be one or two of them where this might apply.
Sure. And where I take the position with term insurance and investing in market risk accounts is going to be for that a 25-year-old, 30-year-old, the family just starting off. I'm like, wow, this is the where we could take the most risk. Let's go. Oh, and not being sold an IUL and all that, but I've learned to appreciate products like this for the future because it makes me better. It allows me to get better sound financial advice or just recommendations overall, and to have a conversation like that. I'm like, yeah, no, that makes total sense. If I don't have to use my money, use someone else's money for this situation, even better, and keep my money for what I need it for. It's just a transfer. It's a risk transfer. That's all it is.
That's all it is. And for the client that wants to transfer all the risk, you can talk more insurance product, but you got to have the disclosure too. Like you're transferring all the risk, but with the transfer of risk is the transfer of opportunity. That's the cost.
And I think so. I was on this live yesterday or 2 days ago, and this brand new agent under that company that you mentioned, and all she kept talking about were guarantees. But the guarantee, I'm like, you do understand what happens when you get a guarantee, right? You're guaranteed to have an opportunity cost. Okay.
Yeah. The way we look at it is the more you give a company, the more they give back. The more you're willing to trust them, the more they're willing to pay you. But there's no guarantees, right? So it's give and take, risk and reward. Like tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, Beauty and the motherfucking Beast, and that's really what this game is. But yeah, dude, it's really interesting because for a person, there are 25-year-olds that have no appetite for risks. Does that mean you should put them all in a life insurance policy? No, because there are plenty of other no risk places. Like let's start with high yield savings. We can do some Roth IRA, and we can use things like CDs. We can use fixed annuities. Although at 25, that's pretty young for a fixed annuity. I'd rather see you in a CD, frankly. Yeah.
Not only you can do more of a balanced fund where it has almost like more bond heavy in it. Like,
well, I think where you're at, and a lot of these people that are real hardcore, IUL, FIA, is the fact that they do and can perform. So I can tell you And also it's a culture I set for myself a decade ago now. I do annual reviews, and 90+% of my annual reviews, not just this year, but every year, outpace the illustration because I didn't illustrate 8%. I illustrated with 5.
But let's talk about that, man. Oh my goodness. Let's talk about this. So there's been one guy that kind of shut me up a little bit. Okay. His name's Brian Giroux.
Oh, I know Brian really well. I've had him do some trainings for our group.
Hey, Brian Giroux. And I'm trying to pick him apart.
Brian's a smart cookie, a really smart cookie.
Oh, probably better than anyone I've ever met. Well, with the exception of you, like now that it makes sense, right?
Brian's a really smart cookie. Brian and I disagree on a few things though. Brian's real big on vol controls and you can shit around and my premise is the power of a fixed index product is in the floor, not in the cap. It's the fact that you didn't go backwards. So when it didn't do well, stay put because now you're much more like your new floor. When it didn't do well, your new floor is the basis there. And anything we make up, we get to make up. I'm a big believer in S&P 500. You have less than 5% of hedge funds in the world that'll perform it. But I will say this. Some of these vol indexes, not the last few years, but some of these hybrids and vols and different things, there are times I have clients that against my recommendation, they were like, I want to try that. At least part of my allocation. Let me put 20% there. And dude, like I have one client that I think it was 2020 to 21, March 2020 to 21 in an Allianz product hit 60%. It was 58% on that segment for that amount of money. Right. How many of my clients did that? Like infantile, literally that was the only one.
That Doug Andrews 61% and then,
so here's my point. It exists. And so to say it doesn't exist is asinine. It exists. In fact, most of my clients' fixed index annuities, the last 2 consecutive years have done double digits, no risk of market loss, and no fees. That's pretty cool. But do they average that on a 10-year run? I'm honest enough to say no, they don't, because the year before that was stupid. But the last 2 years, we've done 11, 14. We have a couple of them that have done 20s.
This is my challenge, guys, is that they want to base like a 61% performance, and they think because this happened, it's absolute. They all work. I'm like, do that for 30 years now. Especially how you're telling people to take all your money out of market-based accounts, put it in here, because this is what's going to happen. Like it's going to outperform the S&P 500, right? You're lying to people. And my thing going back to the illustration, this is before I even knew who he was, right? He hopped on my live and I'm like, this guy's really confident and he knows the product more, because I had never, up until that point, and never met anybody who knew, and he knew everything I was talking about, because when I hear somebody, I don't know, within 5 minutes, you have no idea what you're talking about. Stuff like it's really easy to you just ask them some tough questions, and then if they answer them, you start kind of, for me at least, I pick it up a notch, and then eventually you break. But this guy I'm like, okay, this isn't just some little slap dick here. This is a fucking guy that knows the fucking product. And he goes, I have them. I have illustrations. I'll prove them to you right now. And I'm like, hold the fuck up. There's a question I'm not asking, and it dawned on me, and I asked him, what are you illustrating, your original illustrations? He said 4.5%, 5%. I go, of course you got winning illustrations, because you're telling people the fucking truth first time, right? You're not showing 6.5%. Like Transamerica, edit that part out, okay? Transamerica, fucking 7.5% illustration. Bro, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that. So that's why when I say show me your original illustration with the Inforce, because I know 99% of people are getting the max illustrator rate, the max.
Yeah. You're and the fight you're fighting is against what most of the agents in the industry are doing. But what most of the agents in the industry are doing is not what it's like. It's using a freaking iPad as a hammer, and it's like that's what it's for. But like I've got a case right now, $200,000 a year, 7-pay policy. And I've got a financial advisor beating the client up over this, like ask him this, ask him that. He finally conceded a couple weeks ago. Okay, we'll do some cash value life insurance. By the way, this 200,000 a year, this dude just sold his business for like 15 million. So 200,000 a year, 7 pay is not. It's a fraction. Yeah, it's not.
About 50% of it.
But he's been super hardcore on whole life, which, by the way, I sell whole life. I sell Lafayette. I sell Mass Mutual, New York Life, Mutual Trust. I've got
One America?
Foresters. Who's that?
One America?
I've got One America. I don't really sell One America. My big ones that I like Mass, I like Mutual Trust, I like Lafayette, I like New York. And there's some reasons. They're mutual companies. They are non-direct recognition policies, quality provisions, good dividend history. Anyways, so I'm like, hey, yeah, if we want to go whole life, we can absolutely do that. And I showed him some options. But, this gentleman, by the way, is 35. And I'm like, here's this other policy. And here's the spread on opportunity cost. And the financial advisors throwing up all this other shit that normally like you or someone else would throw up. And they're throwing up all this other shit. And it's like, okay, but my premise is based on midpoint. Midpoint is based on 4.5%. By the way, do you know what the fixed rate on the policy is? It's 4.5.
What was the midpoint?
Or midpoint is illustrated 4.5, and the fixed rate on the policy is 4.5. So we're not even basing our overall print like, hey, here's this other column, and if this happens, what a freaking happy coincidence. Like, I expect you to buy me a steak. I want a piñata. I want the things. But
that I've noticed, like with illustrations, is that the midpoint is about 50 to 75 basis points away from best case scenario. So the room for the margin for error, man, it is so small. I'm like, bro, this thing's definitely gonna blow up on you.
Yeah, when you're doing it, when you're properly structured, your midpoint should be fairly midpoint. Like maybe. Like if so, your guarantee column is going to be like 2% because these policies, a lot of people are like, what if it never performs at 0? That's actually a lie. Most of these policies have like a 1.5 to 2.5% guarantee that they're like, end of story. It's going to guarantee that. Okay. And then if you illustrate it, say, so like, let's say it guarantees 2 and you illustrate it 6, your midpoint is 4, which is midpoint, right? So a good company, a lot of your good companies, they actually require that your midpoint can even be illustrated above your fixed rate. And a lot of times, some companies are your current fixed rate. Some companies are your 10-year fixed rate average. But check this out for good companies. And so when we're teaching this, we teach the 3 C's a lot. When we teach the 3 C's, we're talking about contract. We need a good contract. We need a good company that provides a good client experience and a good agent experience, because the agent who sold you the policy, if they piss off tomorrow and won't work with this company, you probably don't remember how to take care of this thing and you're shit out of luck. Somebody else has got to come in and try and help you. And then the other one is what we call Comdex. It's financial strength. I found a sweet spot for products like Index Universal Life on Comdex. It's 80 to 98. When we go over 98, we lose liquidity on the policy, which means we're putting money in we can't use. And when we go under that, we have major rate integrity issues, right? And that's where we see all these policies have rate integrity issues. They all move around, right? But the biggest rate integrity issues we see are going to be under 80 on Comdex. So when we get looking at all these things and we kind of find that sweet spot, those companies that reside right in there, most of them, not all of them, but most of them, that midpoint, it's not just midpoint. It's guaranteed. They will not illustrate their midpoint over their fixed rate, and their fixed rate is always illustrated as their 10-year average fixed rate, not their current fixed rate, which is cool. And so we find a lot of truth in that. So there's a lot of, when we talk about properly structured, when we talk about good company, yeah, they all move around. There is no such thing as perfect rate integrity. And you never know. Like one of the companies that was one of the really, really good ones 5-10 years ago, went ahead and sold themselves off to a big asset manager. And now that asset management company, it's an investment bank, is just plundering it and they're going to shit. There's no guarantees, but you could put that money under your pillow at night. There's no guarantee you and I don't have too much whiskey And I talk you into buying some wicker chairs off of a late night infomercial.
all that, right? You probably win, bro. I'm like, I'm down.
So I guess my point is just simply there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. But Brian's a sharp cookie. Where Brian and I disagree is on largely on the vol control stuff and moving indexes. And why? Because 999 out of 1,000 people that buy like an IUL or an FIA, they don't want to move the indexes. They don't want to log into their account every day to see if they can rate lock it. They don't want to.
But even know how to do that.
Well, and they don't know how to. And then the other side of it is this. And again, if Brian watches, I hope he doesn't feel like I'm shit talking him. But to sit here and say, well, if you read these, yeah, so do I. If you read these and like I said, I literally a couple weeks ago, I had him on a training. Like he was putting on the training for a bunch of our folks and did a great job. But to sit here and say, like, oh, I can track it so well that I'm going to be able to sit here and tell all my clients all the time which indexes to move into, by the way, on renewal, because you can only do it on renewal. Otherwise, you forfeit your interest earned in the last segment anyways. Okay. That's the whole fucking thing. But you're starting to say, well, I have the crystal ball. And if I have the crystal ball, here's my problem with it. If you have the crystal ball, then why can't Johnathan have the crystal ball? Why can't somebody else have the crystal ball? And if they had the crystal ball, wouldn't they just be better off just actively trading that money in a brokerage account? I'd go so much further.
I asked him, I go, so the success that your client has is based on your management. So you have to have your hand in this.
Yeah.
At all times. And the minute you don't, man, it's screwed. And that's cool. If he plans on managing every IUL that comes through, I don't know if he's an independent agent or if he has
and Brian is, and if he can, I think his clients are going to do phenomenal. In fact, I know to this point they are. It's okay. Can we do that for another 30, 40 years? Like there's longevity. And my way of going about it is more like, hey, whether or not you as a client want me to, I'm telling you right now, me as the professional, I don't want to fucking actively manage your money. That's why I didn't get a securities license. So if I'm selling you a set it and forget it strategy, and it's not set it and forget it, but if I'm selling you a low maintenance strategy, I want dollar cost averaging, and I want to base on the S&P 500. I want, if I'm going to use a fixed index product, I want some of my money in zero floor with a good cap and decent rate integrity. That way, if the market only returns 2%, I get to keep that 2%, right? At least on that money. But I also want some uncapped. I do not want 300% participation. I want 100% participation and a spread. That way, if the market hits 30%, I get 30% minus 7. I get 23 on that money. And when we look at those, we see quality rate integrity. We see an average quality average rate of return. And it's low maintenance, and we dollar cost average. So
correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just from what I've seen, man, across carriers. The higher the participation rate that they give you, and call me crazy for thinking this, man, but just from after doing the research, because you have,
I already know what you're getting at. Let's do it.
If it's 180, 220, I've seen shit 350, 350% participation. It's more bond heavy. Am I correct?
100% of the time. If you're over, well, I can't say like guaranteed. In my experience, which, by the way, I'm appointed with over 80 carriers. We work with a lot of people. And I'm not an expert on all their products. I'd be a dumbass to tell you I was. We've looked at most of them. From everything we've looked at, anything over 100% on participation rate is on a hybrid or volatility control index. 100%. Most of your volatility control and hybrid indexes are built on bond index funds, which is different than a bond, and it's different than an index fund. Most of your bond index funds, for the people that are actually paying attention, most of your bond index funds return like 1.5 to 2% per year. So if you have 200% participation on 2% per year, you get 4% per year, right?
I was diving deep into this stuff, man. Like the Paribas, the Fidelity one, the Barclays. I'm like, hold on, these guys are getting 300% off this, and it's 1.5%. So I noticed When they're getting 300, the actual index itself was 1.5%. But when the participation was like 180, it's because it was like 2.5, 3. You with me? I was like, I don't know if that was a trend, and that's what I'm asking you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the higher the participation rate, the more bond driven it is.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And so, like, for me, I'm a big fan of S&P 500, and you can't just look at an index and say it says S&P 500 blah blah blah. I won't say which one specifically because I know this carrier is after me right now. But yeah, I won't say. But it's not S&P 500. It's like 90% bond fund.
It
And
was dumb.
so, but you can get pretty true S&P 500 fund in a good policy. And a lot of your policies have that. Just agents don't choose it because it doesn't illustrate as well, which is weird. The thing that was going to do better, especially with some DCA applied, dollar cost averaging applied, the thing that was going to do better doesn't illustrate as well. Why?
I see that every time I go. There's a reason why the carrier will, right? And then, okay, so then you add someone who just passed their exam 2 weeks ago. They took a weekend course. It's easier to sell something that illustrates great on paper. It's easy to sell that, right? They're always going to choose the pace setter. They're always going to choose whatever it is, right? The volatility control, because they allow you to put 6.5% on the piece of paper versus 5, and it shows an extra $500,000 over a 40-year period, and it shows an extra $30,000 of income, when you illustrate it. So I think that really hurts, right? And it's deceiving to the client.
Well, and it does. It's also hard because, so for example, IUL that exists today is not the same IUL that exists in 2014. Why? Because we had AG 49 in 2015. We had mortality table updates in 17, AG 49B in what, 20, or I'm sorry, AG 49A in 2020, TAMRA, TEFRA, DEFRA, reconfirmation and updates in 22, then AG 49B in 20. Like, it's a totally different product, even though it has the same name. But what I can tell you is this: most of my clients over the last 10 years have outperformed, like to the tune of 7, 8+% per year on average. And that's on average. However, like, how am I going to sit here and down talk you, telling them, hey, go get some VOO or SPY or whatever, right? They've done that based on S&P 500 largely with their indexes during the greatest bull run in American history. Like, hey, so for 10 years, we've outperformed the illustration. I'm phenomenal. That's phenomenal. And I'm so happy for you that we are way ahead of schedule. I am not confident it's going to remain that way. So let's continue to remain conservative.
Sure.
That's my perspective.
This is my, so now that we can clear the air, okay? My issue is not with the product, right? It's with how the people selling it position the product. You know what I mean? That's 1,000% when they're telling people not to get market-based accounts and this is it, right? Let alone liquidate market-based accounts and put it into this. That's where I'm like, no. You guys are wrong. And that's a big majority of people. Not all of them, right? There's some good people out there that are saying do the Roth and VOO, whatever they decide to do. But then you got some crazy people out there saying that this fund is parent to the S&P and how it's going to outperform it. And it's crazy.
So go all the way back to the blind leading the blind, recruiting people, and what insurance agents don't realize, and not all insurance agents, but the ones that want to focus on cash value life insurance and annuities. And again, not all cash value life insurance and annuities, because you get into the upper echelons, you get into high net worth, and it's a totally different conversation. But for mom and pa, if you want to do cash value life insurance and annuities for mom and pa, there's a huge market there for it. That's very viable, very fiduciary. My market is not to help them go like take 200 a month and turn that into 4 million. My market is to say, hey, congrats, you and your financial advisor put together 4 million. Let's look at an average 80-20 or maybe 60-40 at the most, but I'm going to say 80-20 blend on portfolio. And if you're concerned about some of these other things, long-term care, cancer, and death, and all these things, and you want to swap out some of your opportunity for some guarantees, Then we can create a viable bond alternative for the bond portion of your portfolio now that you have a portfolio.
Yeah. Thousands for
The only caveat to that conversation, though, is that insurance products, life insurance products at least, are front loaded. And so to create that viable bond alternative, it takes time. So it's like, okay, I can't grow 4 million, flip that over, and it's a viable bond alternative today. It's going to take a certain amount of time.
Yeah. It's funny because I was just talking about this maybe 2 days ago on my live. I'm like, when they talk about a bond alternative, like it's not a bond alternative in 3 years, but it's like 10, 15, 20-year time for it. And that's like, you got to really structure this where there's like 90% liquidity in the cash value, right? Year one. And most people are just not going to do that because they give up a lot of commission to do that. And I agree 1,000%. Let's go create this portfolio, this nest egg, and then let's start getting some guarantees. Where if we're trying to get guarantees today with no nest egg, that's stupid. In my
I'll tell you what I found. I found when I help somebody have, I help them, get there, and I'm not doing it for them. I'm just like, hey, let's get, 3 to 6 months savings set aside. Let's get a Roth IRA. Let's get this other stuff going. Let's max out your 401k matches, not max out your 401k contribution. If you're a business owner, that might make sense for some other reasons, but like the average mom and pa, max out your matches. Anything that's not being matched, you're probably better off going into IRA, frankly, because you can use the same investments. Now you have no plan participant fees and blah, blah, blah. You know that. But let's get through all this. And in the meantime, let's do some term, and let's do some this, and let's do some that. And they're like, oh my goodness, I'm so grateful that you did that. Let me send you 20 of my family members. So I sell 20 term policies. But now 10 years later, Ma and Pa are like, hey, 10 years ago, you helped us do this. Now we have this little pot. We want to do something with a part of that pot. And I'm like, great. I get paid again. So I don't have to worry about it. But also along the way, they're like, hey, by the way, I've got 3 pay raises. The economy's doubled 3 times over in the last 15 years and all these things. So we're already maxing all this other stuff out. We can't do anything else. What else can we do? And it's like, well, hey, you're already doing that other stuff. Now let's talk. Why is my persistency like 100% at this point? Because there's not a reason, not just for the client to cancel. There's not a reason for a financial advisor to cancel my stuff.
Because they have everything else already solid. So it's not like you have this, but you don't have all that. No, you already have okay, I can see that. And that's where I've come to appreciate cash value life insurance, to be honest. Is where, okay, we have all these, but this is just another bucket for people. Just another bucket that would make sense. And, it's been a very big eye opener for me. I'm like, okay, I don't hate it completely. I hate it when it's sold first instead of all these other buckets. That's where I have a problem.
Well, I literally coach cash value agents and they hate me for agreeing with you, but I do.
I could only imagine, man, when I was first kind of making a little stand here, what these guys were talking about. It must be funny, but these guys are probably not.
They're like, he's such a bot, though.
I bet, bro. Like, when I would get sick stuff sent to me, and I'm like, damn, like to me, this wasn't even like how to grow a business. This was just for shits and giggles, like, go. And people were taking this shit personal. They were taking it very personal. I'm like, dude, it's just social media, man. It's TikTok. Like, relax. It's not that big of a deal. Until I started getting some of the, like a Brian Giroux and a Chris Kirkpatrick on my lives. And I'm like, oh, shit. And I didn't know who these people were. Right? Until I started, oh, damn, these guys are some of the big heads. I'm just a little small guy that just talks a little bit of shit. I didn't realize what I was doing until I started like, oh, damn, these are some of the, not that I was afraid, but I had that little in my stomach. Like, I hope this person doesn't get on my live and it'll be like a David McKnight. You know what I mean? Because that guy just
being a good friend of mine.
Oh shit! I was like, man, I hope this guy doesn't get on my because I see him picking apart all these other, IUL guy. He's a big IUL advocate. You know what I mean? Shoot, but within context,
mine and Dave's biggest bone is I recommend whole life more than he. I'm still like, if I'm selling cash value, it's probably 80% IUL versus whole life. But Dave's like, why would you ever? And I'm like, well, Here's my fucking reason why.
Yeah,
Yeah. But no, he's actually he is salt of the earth, one of the best people you'll ever meet.
for sure. I'm sure because I listen to him and like I agree with like 90%, 95% of what he's saying because he believes with term insurance. Like he doesn't degrade it. He said there's a place for it. Roth, I like he believes in so it's funny because I have Chris Kirkpatrick here and I have David McKnight here. Chris Kirkpatrick's 100% whole life. Doesn't believe in market based accounts. He believes in real estate and that stuff. And you got David McKnight, who doesn't necessarily believe in whole life, right? He's more IUL, but believes in market based accounts. You know what I mean? So I've kind of try to find the medium right there between both of them because I love what they both preach. I love what they both preach. And then that's kind of where I'm at. Right.
It turns out the medium is some fat little white boy with a beard that hasn't been trimmed up in a little while. Nah, dude, Chris is badass too. I've chatted with Chris a few times, and I get why Chris is so anti IUL. A lot of it is life experience on his end, but he also has to understand. Like, this is the one thing I'm going to say to Chris. Like, most of it, absolutely, I'm not going to argue with in any way, shape, or form. However, like, you have all this life experience with a company that represents like 80% of all the broken promises in the IUL world. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, you got to take it with a grain of salt. So,
Yeah. Like one company doesn't represent all.
well, and it's not, again, it's not even like, because you have the company and you have the product, but then you have the culture of all the motherfuckers out there selling it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, I do give him a little fuel, right? I send him almost every illustration I get. So that did you watch that nationwide illustration that he ripped apart?
I don't know if I did, but it's nationwide, so I'm fairly familiar. I don't sell nationwide, but I'm pretty familiar. I've looked at a lot of them.
Gave him the in for it, and he did a whole video that was mine right there that I sent him, and I sent him all the national, like all the in-force illustration. I'm like, here, go create content. Whether he does it or not is up to him, but because it's not like I want you to, say something that maybe I haven't thought of, because I want to pick his brain. Like, how would you break this illustration down? And because it's an enforce and all of that, and just to keep me, prepared and sharp between the ears and all that.
Yeah, I've got a voice note. I think it's Facebook Messenger. I've got a voice note saved from Chris where he literally admits like IUL's not all bad. It's just 90% of them sold is bad, and so we got to shut the whole thing down. And I hit him back with the problem is you've got all these multi-billion-dollar companies out there making money on it. You're not going to shut them down. They don't give a fuck. They're making money, right? So you've got all these agents that are going to sell it regardless. So you can sit here and alienate all of them because as soon as they disagree with you, they're not listening anymore. Or if you really want to create impact, if you really want to impact the culture, you'd at least give credit where credit is due and have the conversation instead of just like, hey, you're an idiot for IUL. Because there's a time and a place. And so
If you listen to some of his more recent content, I would say within the last 2 months, he's been a little bit more lenient on it, where he was 1,000% anti, and now he was, it could work. And
maybe I'm not a part of that at all, but I know I've had a lot of conversations with Chris and with yourself and with David's become a really good friend of mine. Like David and I were down at NAFA in September speaking together and took him out for some pizza there in Scottsdale and I had him out at my event in January. And I feel like getting everybody off their fucking high horse and just having the conversation like, okay, you're right, but also you're fucking wrong. So like you're so not gay, but also you're gay.
got to have to meet these guys, you in person, and then David McKnight, and so then there's even a fight between that because then you got Doug Andrews on one side, and you got David McKnight. I'm like, these are two completely different views on the like night and day views, night and day. I'm like,
I'm not sure where to land on Doug Andrews stuff. I'm gonna be honest. Like I don't know Doug. I've never met Doug. I've never talked to Doug. I've talked to a couple of his people. They're good people, great marketers. Like, I wish I was that good of a marketer, but I'm not. If I was left to my own devices, I would tend to like just move away from the Doug Andrews stuff. But I do respect Brian Jarrell, and Brian is big on Doug Andrews, big, and I respect Brian enough, you know, Brian, like I said, I've had him help coach and train some of our agents and do some things, and I don't know. I like Brian a lot. We disagree on a bunch of things, but he holds that in a lot of regard, and it's hard for me to just be like, okay, it's all shit. I just really, really don't believe in vault controls and hybrids. So
Yeah, yeah. And then you'll get him why it's the best thing ever.
yeah, dude, this turned into the most boring fucking podcast ever for anyone.
That was great. The buzz as fuck. I might make myself a drink, man.
I was gonna say I'm about to make myself one. You good to go for a little bit longer? I've got a few more questions I want to ask you.
5 more minutes. I need to drain the main vein, and then I'll be back with the. Give me 5 minutes, okay? All right, Mr. Carson.
Cabrón.
All right,
I know some Spanish, dude. Chalupa.
we're going on 2.5 hours here, man.
I told you 3-hour sessions. We record. We'll cut out the potty breaks, and that's about it, man.
About it, man. Oh, right. You know what, man? I'm usually pretty good at research. I didn't even take a look at the podcast at all, like at the previous content, but I'm sure it's great.
It's fine. I think there's only, what do we have, 15, 20 episodes up, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I have a question for you though, bro. All right. I'm not too sure if you have more for me, but I do have a question. So, like, in your, I guess, you have an agency?
I do have my own agency, yeah.
Okay. So as far as like the marketing goes, man, like how do you bring in the bulk, like the majority of your business? Like how's that come? Is it social media? Is it like just referral based?
I'm glad you asked because so my agency is different. My agency is myself. I've got 2 CSRs and 1 marketer. And the marketer I moved my family from Las Vegas to Idaho a couple of years ago. And so we're working on building kind of a local presence, and that's what the marketer's for. But no, until I launched the mastermind stuff and the training and coaching, and which, by the way, is not attached to my agency. People don't have to. In fact, we strictly prohibit all recruiting, all contracting, myself included. Like, nobody gets to do that. So until I started doing that, I wasn't on social media. I have some old social media from back in the day running agencies, like posting videos of like windmills in the background, being like, yep, I can insure that. White shirt and tie, dude.
Oh, no, I get it.
Yeah, man, it was a shit. But beyond that, like I got off of social media actually like early 2019 and was literally just off. I had nothing. And it wasn't until I started wanting to grow this and I hired a guy. I won't tell you who it is, but he runs one of the largest sales-based masterminds, not insurance related, but sales-based. Like he doesn't run groups like Arate, but he's done all the marketing for Arate for freaking 10 years. And he has his own group. It wasn't until I paid him to coach me one-on-one, which by the way was not 6 figures. And I was a part of his groups for years, like $50,000 a year. And when I first got in there, the whole thing was like, hey, you've done this. I've been coaching people one-on-one. Like I run my own agency. And when you're good at a thing, you know this. When you're good at it, the phone blows up and people are like, how are you doing it? And so it got to the point where I was like, hey, folks, like you're going to have to start paying me $1,000 a month. And I'll give you an hour a week dedicated to you. That turned into like 30 people. That's 30 hours of Zoom every week. And, you know, that sounds like good money, $30,000 a month, but compared to what I was making other places, you know, we're doing millions per year in target and annual premiums, depending on the product. We're doing 5 to 10 million and 10 to 15 million a year in annuities, and then private placements and ancillaries. And
Yeah.
it's like, man, it's most of my time for a fraction of the money. So it got me thinking, like, how do I do this on a different level? And it was when I joined Ryan's shit that Ryan sat me down and was like, look, I know you don't want to be on social media, but if you're not going to get on it, then quit wanting this thing. Find a way to want something else. Manage your own expectations. And I was like, fuck, manage my own expectations. And so I got back on. So anyways, long story short, I do the social media stuff. I'll put some stuff out there here and there because I still have some clients that tune into my shit, but like on the insurance side. But most of my stuff is more based towards the agent, the advisor, for our mastermind. Where I get most of my business from these days, it's mostly referral based. People that already help to keep sending it in. And I'm fortunate for that. And I don't need more because, again, I don't recruit. We just started actually just like you. A couple weeks ago, I was like, you know what? First of all, I'm morally stupid, frankly. Am I going to make some money on it? Yeah, I'm going to make some fucking money on it. But guess what? I have a moral obligation to this sexy, hot wife I have and these two amazing boys. For every moment I'm not there with them, I better be making the most of it. And I don't need to be, my commitment was, I'm going to help you be I don't care if you're with Primerica. The people that seem to hate me the most, I don't care if you're with them. I'm going to help you be phenomenally successful there. I'm going to help you sell more term than you've ever sold ever because I'm damn good at selling term. We sell hundreds and thousands of policies per year. I sell insurance, by the way, less than 10 hours a week. Right now, it's 5 hours a week is all I give to selling insurance. We sell thousands of policies a year. Like, I'm going to help you do that same shit, but I got to start monetizing better, right? So we are starting to bring a few people on like, hey, I call them the orphans. I'm not looking for new agents. You've got to already be doing it, but you're out of alignment when it comes to core values with the place that you're at. You're doing 100,000 a year. You're just not doing life and business with the folks you want to do life and business with. Come over. Let's start talking and do it. So I just started that. I think I've got like, I don't know, 20 or 30 people at this point, and we're not going to get too big. But what I do for marketing, and this is what I teach them to do as well, I do referral base. My number one piece, I come from the home auto life world, is cross-selling book. So I actually go partner with, this is one of the things we teach the people in our program, thousands of agents. We call it OYC, AYC, once your client, always your client. We teach them, we literally have contracts. I've got marketing materials, all of it. We just give it to these people. We teach them how to go to like a P&C firm who's doing nothing but home and auto and not just get them to be like, yeah, I'll send you my referrals. But no, we're going to sign this contract that says that I'm going to pay you and all these things. But it also says that I'm going to work to preserve the integrity of your relationship with your client, and any infraction on that, I'm going to pay you for that. Right. And so now, once we have that in place, I don't want just your referrals. I want to download your fucking book. I want a CSV. So I have 300 and I think as of right now, 323,000 contact points over the years that we put together all across the country. And it's not just P&C books at this point. We do health books. We do Medicare books. Medicare books have been great for annuities, private placements, and AUM lately. I don't do AUM, but I've got some folks in our organization that do. I refer to them and they kick me back the other pieces that are needed. But that's probably, outside of referrals, that is my number one. I cross-sell book. I take an existing book and I have a relevant conversation back. Oh, you own a home? Great. Let me talk to you about mortgage protection. You spend $3,000 a month for the right to live in this home between mortgage, property taxes, insurance, et cetera. But if you choke on a cigarette butt tomorrow, you could lose it all. Even if you spend $100,000 on this already. Did you realize for $50 a month, I can guarantee we not only pay it off, but we'll put food on the table for your family as well? I feel like you work hard enough, Jonathan. You owe yourself that $50 a month, don't you?
Yep.
So we do all that through automation. We get people interested. They click a link, book a 15-minute phone call, 15 minutes. We run through the numbers. We're like, let's do it. We shoot them a link. They fill out their own questionnaire. That comes back. We copy and paste that onto an e-app and send it back to them for a signature.
That's crazy. How you can get so automated, especially when you have volume like that. Everything's clockwork. That's awesome. Yeah, I asked that because I when I left, Primerica, the only way I knew how to really get, to grow a business was through the recruiting, the field training, and all that. So I would say about,
look, I'm bringing on 5 of you. And if you all bring on 5 people and they bring on 5 people,
that's it. And look, that's why, like, I feel for them. Like, because I went through that. It's a great way. It's just, it's not all pro. There's cons to that. So
yeah.
One of the things that I needed to master, when I really, so what happened was I went through a separation, bro. Like me and the mother of my child, we went through a separation, and I have a lot of respect for her, but she ended up taking over the business. Right. So then that was about 2.5 years ago at this point. So then I'm fresh on my own. Right. And I'm barely starting to get things going. I'm a big believer that I can't continue to do the same thing expecting a different result. So I need change needed to happen. Right? I need to master the social media marketing. I have to. I don't care what it costs. Right? And I paid probably about $20,000-$30,000 in just to learn how to market through social media, through content creation, all that. So now I'm here, and I always like to hear people who aren't recruiting people because I already know if you're not recruiting people and you're right in a lot of business, there's a system in place. And I like to pick people's brains on that. Like, how are you getting the business and what funnel are you using and all of that? So that's great to hear. I appreciate you.
That's it, man. And then we just revenue share back. Like, hey, if we close it, you get paid. Most often, we're giving them a percent of writing agent commission, which is going to be like street. So, like, hey, I might get paid. I might sell a 30-year term and get paid 160 on it, but street is 90. I get paid 160 because I'm a motherfucker and I sell millions a year.
Yeah.
You don't get the benefit of my years of hard work. Let's work together for a few years and I'll give you that. But for now, how about I just give you like 30-40% of writing agent commission and you do nothing, and you haven't been cross-selling your own book for the last 15 years anyways.
Right. Right. I need to build relationships like that with people.
Dude, it's badass stuff. And we've had years we paid out like a single agency 400,000-500,000 in revenue share. A single agency that was just like, hey, I just do health insurance. Cool. Let's put this together. I come and sell it, and then I just revenue share back, and I only revenue share back what I sell. And if there's a back charge, I'm going to back charge. I'm not going to send you a bill, but we'll take it off of future stuff. Like, I'm going to go keep working and earn it back, right? And dude, we've had years we've made an agency an extra $500,000, and an agency that's only doing like 200,000-300,000 a year in residual on health insurance. We put an extra $500,000 in their pocket. Like, that changes their life. Because yeah, hey, don't go spend all that and pay your taxes. But instead of buying a boat, what if like you just double down on marketing and hire 2 more processors?
That's crazy, man. Just I see that's something that I need to get better at. And it took me 13 years to get here, man. But you know what? I'm glad I'm here, and I'm open, to the like that. That's one of the things in 2025 is I'm going to build relationships with people that understand this marketing game. That's what it's all about. It's marketing, marketing,
Dude,
marketing.
it's like we were talking about. An agent's number one job is to be an expert marketer. If you can't do that, you're not going to be great at this business. You'll be mediocre.
Making mediocre income.
Or fail. Dude, one other challenge I'm going to give you this next year, and I've got my own shit I need to be challenged to do, like maybe drop 30 pounds. And they say if you drop 30 pounds, you gain an inch, and I'm really looking for an inch right now.
I'm cool with half.
Dude, yeah, I'll take a half inch. But no, dude, I would challenge you this next year. Not every person, because there are some people that are just belligerent and frankly irrelevant, and you just move on. But for the ones you don't agree with, you're at odds with, I would challenge you to like make it a point to reach out to him, get on the phone, spend an hour, and like whether it's Brian or I know you and Charlie have gone back and forth. Charlie Stewart. Charlie's a good friend of mine. I like Charlie quite a bit. But Charlie's much more hardline towards Brian, and that's okay. Charlie's a great dude, phenomenal agent, super, super smart, but just so hard nosed in his line. Here's what I found. Most other people like you, what we're doing right now, it's the anomaly. It's not the norm. It's not what people do, right? Most people stay hardlined in their line. They get in a rut, they stay in a rut, and they don't see a rut as a rut. They see a rut as a ridge. That's some shit some people should write down. That's a whiskey talking. Every rut is a ridge, right? And so they just ride that motherfucker down into the valley. But at the end of the day, it's like, nah, a rut, a ridge, it doesn't matter. You're like, look at, I don't know. I hunt, I fish, I ride dirt bikes. I don't fish. I fucking hate fishing. I drink beer. Other people cast poles. I drink beer. But we get out in the country a lot. And I'll tell you, I thank God I'm not stuck on the ridge. Because this ridge is beautiful, but holy shit, so is that one. And holy shit, so is that one. And holy shit, so is that one. Right? So my challenge to you is reach out to these people. And it's not like, hey, it's not be a cuck. Don't be a cuck. But just learn. Like, that's why I started this podcast particularly, is like, I just want to know how people tick. Like, why are you ticking the way you are? If we tick together, if we're parallel, perpendicular, I just want to know how people tick. And I've gotten so much, not just from this podcast, but just that mentality the last few years. Cause I haven't always been this way. I was very much a hard fucking line for a long, long time. It's just been the last couple of years that I've been like, shit, there's other ridges.
Yeah. Totally open to that, man. And you know what's crazy is that a lot of them, I don't like, I think they think if we, I can't speak for them, but I would assume the conversation we had, they think it's going to be, no, you're wrong. Fuck you. Fuck this. I think that's how they think it's going to go. I'm like,
It's because they jump on your live and you're like, what's up, puta madre?
chill the fuck out, bro. Like, with conversation, dude.
Nah, dude. Yeah, there is like at this point, you're gonna have to diffuse. But
Yeah.
if you want the progress, you got to be the diffuser as well. You know.
Yeah. So I had Charlie on, bro. Fucking Charlie, bro. If you ever listen to this, Charlie, I love you, dude. I love you. No hard feelings. I don't take anything personal. So I bring him on, bro. Fucking Charlie. The minute he figures out how to turn his camera on, you motherfucker, you piece of shit, you fucking felon. And I just, this guy, all right, this isn't going to be a conversation. This is
Charlie. He's a very strong-nosed Floridian for the last year / used to be Chicago. Dude, I love Charlie. And Charlie, by the way, sharp as a whip. He's secure. He's been securities licensed for a long time. He's a registered fiduciary. Dude is freaking sharp, but he's on his ridge. And I've told him that, and he doesn't agree with me, and that's okay. So him watching this, it's nothing new. I'm not scared of it. And he's out for me.
If all of you guys hear this, man, I want to have a conversation with Matt Schloss. Right? I want to have a conversation with Brian Jarrell. We kind of had, me and Brian Jarrell, for the little conversation we did have, was probably the most productive and which really kind of shifted my thinking. Do you know who Dustin Wiley is?
Yeah.
I want to have a conversation.
I don't know him real well, but yeah, I've been around a little bit.
Yeah, he blocked me on everything. I'm like, bro, like, how do we ever expect to do better here if you block me? You just block the conversation. It's the conversation that's me, like this conversation to educate people. My problem with people like that is you're afraid that you might be wrong, and you've created such a hard stance on something that you don't want your credibility to be ruined. Me, I don't care about that. Like, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and you have an opportunity to prove, like, let's go for me to bring all these people on my live, and I don't know what's gonna happen. I can lose all my credibility in one live, bro. For the right,
I've learned I gotta quit bringing Augie on.
Oh, yeah, he's an interesting guy. I don't know who that guy is.
He's a rioter, man. It doesn't matter what's going on. He's gonna start a riot.
That guy is hilarious. That guy, he is funny, and I don't know what his position is. The minute he gets on, I open up the whiskey bottle. Like, this is gonna be good. It's gonna be hilarious. It's gonna be good. So I don't know what to take serious, what to not take serious.
I don't know who he is, dude. He could be an Olympic athlete. He could be like 400 pounds eating Cheetos out of his belly button in his mom's basement. I don't know. I just know that his shit cracks me up. So I want to bring him on, but every time I bring him on, he starts a fight with somebody.
And the reason why I don't, because there's a lot of truth to what he says. There's a lot of truth to it. So I like, fuck, dude, like, I don't want to make you friend or foe. So I just keep it neutral with you, dude, because I'm like, oh, damn, that's a great point. For someone to say you have to know finance to say some outrageous shit the way you just did. And how he says it, I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm just going to drink this whiskey and let you go off. I'm not going to try to correct you here, bro, because you're on another level here.
Dude, are you ready for some fun shit for just a minute?
Let's go, man. I did about half a drink left, man. I killed that whole whiskey bar.
Dude, you've been drinking big ones. I've been killing these littles.
Oh, pretty fun.
But I pre-gamed, so.
Okay, that's good.
I'm sure you did as well. Don't lie to me. You know where liars go. So, in the news today, Haley Welch, Hawk-Tuah girl, the Hawk-Tuah coin went to 500 mil. I think it was 500 million market cap or something like that. 500 million or 5 million market cap, something like that. And then dropped 24 hours. Turns out her and her team controlled most of the coin underneath. And they basically just pumped and dumped. Have you seen the news on this yet?
See any of that, bro.
Talk to me about Hawk-Tuah girl and would you buy the meme coin, the Hawk-Tuah meme coin?
I only seen the Hawk-Tuah girl, and no, I wouldn't have bought a meme coin. No, I would have not bought it, bro. I don't know enough about it, bro, and I would have to be 1,000% certain that I'm going to get some sort of return on it. Like, I have to be very comfortable with it, and this little chick that is talking about hot tua, even though I got excited when I first saw it. I'm like, it's not good enough for me to buy into something like that. So I'm surprised people actually bought into that shit.
Dude, he literally in 24 hours, I don't even know if it was 24 hours. It was like hundreds of millions and then dumped. I'm pretty sure she's going to jail.
Maybe. She's in a hot tua lot in there.
I doubt it. Not a lot of, as liberal as this country's gotten, there's not a whole lot of dick in the clink.
Not yet, Alex. Not yet. Not yet.
Well, you got Trump coming in. He's going to
clean it all up. Whatever that was trying to get in is gonna get straightened out, man. But
it'll all get taken out. What else has been in the news I want your take on? Dude, I was telling you this. I had a post earlier. Joe Biden pardoning his son. What's your take?
why I think you nailed it, man. To be honest, like whether I agree, I don't agree with him, and I'm open. Like I'm a Trump supporter. I'm not even a Trump. I'm Republican, right? So I go more right than that. Not perfect, but and I'm not defending Joe Biden. I just what you said is exactly how I feel. Like the fact that he's a father and he did what he did too. That I would have done the same. I would have done the same thing if I had a son. Like it doesn't matter. Even if my son was right or wrong, he could have been the wrongest of the wrong, and I'm gonna be by his side. You know what I'm saying? And baby, I just that's my son, man. It's like, hey, we're gonna take an L here, but we're gonna take this shit together.
That's my feeling. Like I believe in accountability and shit. I just don't trust the government to hold people accountable. So it's like, hey, I'm gonna pull you out of this, but you are gonna bend over my knee and I'm gonna bruise that butt.
Oh yeah, big time.
I'm gonna hold you accountable.
Like is everything, but so yeah, I feel the same way you felt. Same as like I would have done the same thing. You put me in that situation, I would have done the exact same thing. And I'm surprised like he even knew what was going on. Like my son's in Trump. Right? That's the crazy part that he knew what was happening.
Dude, so aliens coming out of the ocean instead of outer space. What do you know about that?
You know what, bro? This is you're the first one I hear it from, man.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I swear, bro.
There was a whole like congressional thing where they were like, hey, yeah, aliens are mostly actually from the ocean, not outer space.
Like Atlantis picture.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought was that, was it Disney or whatever?
In Disney, right? Under the sea right there. I
No,
didn't.
dude.
I know.
Straight up. Okay, so we can't really talk about that. All right. What was the most devastating thing that ever happened in your life?
The most devastating thing that happened in my life, man. Let's see. If I had a pinpoint one thing that made me, I'll have to say probably went through my separation, man. Like losing 400 licensed agents because you work so hard for that, You work so hard, you night and day, you give up sleep, you pour everything you have into these people for them to just, and again, I'm glad what's happened, but when I was growing through that situation, I didn't see it that way. You give your whole life to this organization for them just to kind of give you the cold shoulder a little bit. Act like they don't, like, oh, when you needed a fucking place to stay, now you don't know me? You with me? Like that like, got it. That's how we want it. Not that I was asking for anything in return, because I did it literally at the kind of, but that shit hurt. Like how you can give the last thing off your back to people, especially when you're in like a Primerica or, all these other words, recruiter. It's a relationship. Like you build such a strong bond with these people, man. And all the late night talks and being at the house and fuck it. I got you. Don't worry about it, man. Pay me back when you don't even think about it. It's like, I get it. You're struggling, those types, and you build this agency, and for them to be like, oh, I'm nobody anymore. Like so quick, like I do one thing outweighs the 99 great things that I did. I think that was probably, I wouldn't say it got me, like where I'm like, not that I cried about, I'm like it hurt. It hurt.
Is that when you turned Republican, or?
That's when I turned like, you know what? Fuck everyone else. I'm gonna go do me. That's where it was.
I'm sure you had similar values before that, or the same values. Did you get red pilled through that? I like red pilled or black pilled or like.
I'll tell you what. I was a hardcore Democrat before I got into insurance. right? And so I start not even insurance, so I got into entrepreneurship because I didn't know any better, right? So I remember one of my coaches, as I started getting, I'm like, hold on. I started learning the differences. I'm like, no, my beliefs are here, but I was taught this. You with me? So learning how to be a Democrat was a taught where my belief was more Republican. I'm like, I've been Republican the whole time. I didn't know any better. You know, my mom didn't know any better. My dad didn't know any better. Like we were just, that was the environment. You know, you're pretty much a product of your environment. Until I switched environments into entrepreneurship, I'm like, holy shit. Like, I don't feel bad for those people. And those people are Democrats. I'm like, I believe in responsibility. And that's when being in the insurance business really red pilled me hardcore. Right now, I wouldn't say I believe everything that Republicans believe in. Right, that's not perfect. There's a lot of shit I don't believe in, but the majority of it, where if I had to make a decision, it's a Republican.
I had this question in my mind. I don't know if I should say it though.
Yeah.
I might get us both camp. Do you believe chicks can have dicks?
Hell no. And they better not have them.
Listen,
You better not. And if you have one, you better not be talking to me after I down 4 of these. Can make that because I might believe you. And
Johnathan, I love you long time.
Uncle, what? Right? If we get to that point, bro, and I'm fucking 4 of these in, and you live there. Okay, so I'll give you a funny ass story, bro. Okay, so my neighbors, right? So the mother of my child, her best friends were gay, right? They threw a party, and I'm drunk, and I go, hey, these chicks are hot. Or man, I got sober so quick, and every time I DJ'd for their party, as I never had alcohol because you can't tell the difference. You can't. I mean, if you're drunk, you can't tell the difference. When you're sober, I'm like, okay, no, you're a guy. I start looking right here. Anybody that wore the little choker thing, I'm like, you're a man. You're a man. You're a guy. You're a dude.
Those are those parties where they're like, "What is that limoncello?" And you're like, "It's fucking Crystal Light." Okay.
Well, you're taking advantage of me. I didn't take any drinks from nobody. Whatever I would do, it's funny that you use that.
That's hilarious. So you said something earlier that I actually I already liked you because I feel like we jive. I feel like we have a lot of the same sense of humor. And like when people think you're being an asshole, I'm like, oh, he's just being sarcastic. But you said something earlier that just was like, shit, I respect you more for that. You were talking about your separation and all the things with your old lady. And I'm sorry, young lady, your young lady, your old young lady, the previous young lady. I don't fucking know. But you said she's an amazing woman. I think you said good mother or something like that.
Great mother. Have a lot of respect there. No, I'll never talk down on her.
How was that situation for you? And did you get red pilled or black pilled through? I know a lot of dudes that go through that. Some of my own siblings, myself even, like my wife and I, knock on wood, we're still married 13 years strong. But we've been through times that we didn't know if we'd make it another day, let alone a week. And I know there's a lot of that like red pill or even black pill, like, fuck this, I don't need any of that. Did you ever go through any of that? Or like, do you want to talk about that at all? Or would you?
Yeah, I can't, no, no, no. I'm totally transparent, man. I have a lot of respect for, but it really happened when I had my daughter, bro. Where I started things like the way I look at it is like, okay, my job as a man is to show my daughter to give her the absolute example of what a man is supposed to treat, how a man is supposed to treat her by me giving her mom. Like she needs to see me giving her mom everything so that she doesn't choose no fucking slap dick. You know what I mean? Like, well, this is what I saw my dad do with my mom. This is what I expect in return, especially a little girl. You know what I mean? And it was that point where I wasn't willing to do that for her mom, where I amplified that feeling. And I go, that's not fair. It's not fair to my daughter. It really elevated that feeling. Like, no, my daughter needs to see me make a woman a priority, open her door, chivalry. You with me? Flower, all the little things like that she needs to see because there's gonna come a point where she chooses her partner, and that's gonna be a reflection of them. Hopefully, hopefully it's a reflection of need. And same thing with the little boy. If I had a little boy, it would have been no different. Like, dude, I don't want you to be like how I treated these women. Fuck, that'd be a nightmare. Because I was very disrespectful. I need to be an example of this is how you treat a woman. how you treat a woman. This is how you make a woman feel special, like all that. It amplified all those feelings. And it wasn't unfair because then my daughter needs to see her mom be happy. And even if it was someone else making her happy, she deserved that. You know what I mean? And that was probably where it really got, like, it was the hardest because I had been with this person for so long, right? For almost 14 years, Carson. 14 years, bro. And it snapped. I'm like, if I haven't made a decision to marry you in 14 years, it ain't going to take another year for me to fucking figure it out. I know that. And it's not fair to you, and it's not fair to my daughter, because when somebody knows, they know. You know what I mean? And that was the hardest decision. And even if I have to allow someone else to come in, because my daughter deserves to see her mom happy, because the last thing I want, mom, how come you didn't get married to dad? And then you have to justify we're not married. You shouldn't have to justify that. You shouldn't have to lie to my daughter. Just tell her, be straight up. Be straight up. There's no need to bullshit you. You know, that was a and then through all the personal development, I gotta stop lying. Stop lying. Right? How can I go tell everybody to go? And this was a very hard decision for me when I left that relationship, because I'm over there telling people don't quit, give it everything you got, right? You fight and I'm over here quitting on my fucking Pam. You know what I mean? So that's when I tell you that was probably the hardest time, because I'm over here. I felt like a fucking hypocrite. Right? I'm telling people, give it your all, right? Fucking night and day, and I'm over here quitting. I'm quitting. And that was like, it took a lot of personal development for me, and hanging out with the right people, and just being open, like being vulnerable. Honestly, that's what it took, being vulnerable, and just allowing people to give me constructive criticism, being coachable, I guess you would say. And so, yeah, so that was it right there. And I had a bunch of people in my ear, fight for your family, but that's not how I feel. That's not where I want to be. And then I'm going to be a liar. You know what I mean? I'm not going to just do it because I have a daughter. Like, my daughter she needs an example, right? She needs an example. And at least I'm going to be able to tell my daughter the truth. I left your mom because I wasn't in love with her, and I wasn't willing to give her everything. And you need to see someone give her everything. And then you get to see me give a woman everything. Right? If I decide to be in a relationship.
Yeah, or a man.
That too. Never a man, but yes.
All right, couple. You give them all your attention while you're there in the leather chair in the dark corner. Beady. So what was the best, not day, what was the best moment? If you had to pick 5 seconds, 10 seconds of your entire life, what is the pinnacle of your entire life?
Writing my first sale, right? That would probably be my pinnacle. So I had never sold anything in my life. I had never sold anything. But I can think back and how it made me feel. I'm like, I was able to create an income on my effort, and I was able to quit my job. Like, that's all I needed. That's all I needed when I wrote my first sale, is I have total control of my life. Total control of my life. I don't have to depend on anybody no more.
What made that so, like, pivotal to you? Because that's a lot of people have been like, oh man, the day my kids were born, or the day I discovered jerking off, or
Yeah.
But like for you, it was that first sale, and not necessarily the sale, but becoming independent, not necessarily financially free, but independent of a corporation to pay your paycheck, right? So what made that so pivotal?
Because I realized that I didn't have to trade time for money anymore. It was 100% based on my effort. That if this was doable, if these guys just cut me a check for this service, and I'm going to receive a commission, I just need to master this now. And I kid you not, this is what happened. I quit my job the next day. I only got paid like $200 on that time.
That's a lot of faith, brother. $200 and you quit your job.
I quit my job, seriously. And I remember that it was this is literally what happened. I knock on the door. I live next door. I'm selling some life insurance. Can I just give you a quote? We've been looking for life insurance. Say less, I'm here. And I wrote a sale. And I go, wow. And in my normal, stupid, it's all going to be like this, right? And I got a bunch of no's right after it. But the fact that I did it, I'm like, I did it. Like, I just got to do it more. Like, that was my thing. I just got to do a lot more. Like, I no longer have to be controlled by a corporation or like trading my time for money. I just got to get better. I got to become more effective. And now I have 100% control of my life. 3 years later, I'm making 100 grand. You know what I mean? And I didn't have no kids, but the limiting belief was completely shattered where I was invincible at that point, where I just, because I'm one of those guys where I'll do whatever it takes to get the job done. I'll pass any test in any language. I don't care if it means I have $1 million opportunity in front of me. I'll do whatever it takes. I'm not afraid to master and put my head down and commit to something. You know what I mean? So when that happened, I'm like, it's like a strip gold. I could have been selling freaking diet pills and made a sale. I would have committed to that. Thankfully, it was life extended. Thankfully, financial service. Hydroxy cut, fucking Tupperware, who knows? Toothpaste. I could have been selling fucking toothpaste. Right, dude. Veneers, something.
Hydroxycut. I'm telling you, those were the good days.
The good days. Right?
Hydroxycut and Dish Network. Those were the good days of sales.
Ish. Damn.
Dude. All right, 2 more questions, and then I'm going to let you go.
Yeah.
So, remind me, you're in California, right?
Like
SoCal?
Yeah, Los Angeles. Yeah.
Okay. That's not the fucking hat you're wearing.
It's not. It's the only one my brother had, man. My hair's long.
I was just, is this like a thing? Are you representing? Is this a...
No, my hair's long, and I'm at my mom's house. And I was like, my hair's not done. Ran out of gel. I just need a hair. I need a hat to cover my hair.
Ran out of gel or ran out of gel? I just want to be clear because you and I both know motherfuckers are going to pick this apart.
Gel. Hair gel.
Yeah.
Hair product.
Okay. Ran out of that hair product. Okay. Last question. Then I swear to God, I'm going to let you go watch Moana 2.
There it is.
So there you are. You're in a Ford Club wagon and you're cruising down the road and you see Burger King and you're like, oh shit, I do enjoy a classic Whopper. So you stop, you get a classic Whopper, but the wrapper's kind of fucked up. So you're like, you know what? I don't need the wrapper. I'm going to do fine. So you're cruising, you're eating, no wrapper. Tomato comes out the back, hits the floor. But that tomato is one of the best parts of a classic Whopper. So you're rooting around on the ground. You don't even really notice. You're not flying through traffic. You actually kind of come to a stop on some train tracks. You get that tomato. You snuffle it up into your mouth, biting that. You sit up, hit the gas pedal, look to the right, train goes by. Whew, your whole life is saved. Like, oh my goodness, that was crazy. You throw it in park, open the door, jump out, lightning strikes, hit you in the head, you're fucking dead. Yeah. If there was anything between that occurring, like if that were to occur, the minute we get off of here and you head to Burger King, because now I've subliminally programmed you, and you and your club wagon, if this was your last chance ever to give any kind of value to your daughter, to all the other people in this business you've come to know, like, and trust and love, your friends, your family, anyone, if you had 1 or 2 minutes to just give something and then you were going to go get a fucking Whopper, what would that thing be?
Don't care about what people think of you. Do it anyways. Say it, boy. Stop caring about what people think of you. Do it anyways. They're going to have an opinion of you regardless. You win, they have an issue. You lose, they have an issue. Just go do it. Stop caring about what people think of you. Honey advice.
Yeah. That's good shit. That's a good way to end it, brother. Anything else you want to leave before we call it quits?
Carson's the man. It's been a pleasure. I've had some good whiskey, right? Hopefully you have had some good whiskey too. And I can't wait to do this again in the future. And we'll get on live on TikTok, man, and talk some shit for the audience. But a lot of love and a lot of respect, man. My level, I've always respected you. It's just on another level at this point. Appreciate you.
Likewise, dude.